Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Senate Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, 17th February 2022. 1. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of County Assembly of Narok for the year ended 30th June 2020. 2. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of County Executive of Kiambu for the year ended 30th June 2020. 3. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of County Assembly of Kiambu for the year ended 30th June 2020. 4. A report of the Auditor General, the financial statement of the Kiambu County Emergency Fund for the year ended 30th June 2020. 5. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of County Executive of Bomet for the year ended 30th June 2020. 6. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Bomet for the year ended 30th June 2020. 7. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Executive of Nairobi for the year ended 30th June 2020. 8. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of Kajiado Education Bursary Fund for the year ended 30th June 2019. 9. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of Laikipia County Bursary Fund for the year ended 30th June 2020. 10. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of Laikipia County Enterprise Fund for the year ended 30th June 2020. 11. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of Laikipia County Cooperative Fund for the year ended 30th June 2020. 12. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of Vihiga County Executive Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme for the year ended 30th June 2020. 13. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of County Executive Vihiga for the year ended 30th June 2020. 14. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of County Assembly of Vihiga for the year ended 30th June 2020. 15. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Executive of Meru for the year ended 30th June 2020. 16. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Meru for the year ended 30th June 2020. 17. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of County Executive of Lamu for the year ended 30th June 2020. 18. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Lamu for the year ended 30th June 2020. 19. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Executive of Makueni for the year ended 30th June 2020. 20. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Makueni for the year ended 30th June 2020. 21. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement for the County Executive Kitui for the year ended 30th June 2020. 22. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Kitui for the year ended 30th June 2020. 23. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Executive of Machakos for the year ended 30th June 2020. 24. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Machakos for the year ended 30th June 2020. 25. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Executive of Mandera for the year ended 30th June 2020. 26. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Mandera for the year ended 30th June 2020. 27. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Executive of Marsabit for the year ended 30th June 2020. 28. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Executive of Bungoma for the year ended 30th June 2020. And 29. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Bungoma for the year ended 30th June 2020. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, statements.
Statements pursuant to Standing Order 47-1. Dr. Gertrude Musuruve.
Chance to make a statement on an issue of general topical concern, that is the World Radio Day. Honorable Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 47-1 to make a statement on an issue of general topical concern, namely the World Radio Day. Honorable Speaker, proclaimed in 2011 by the member states of UNESCO and adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 2012 as an international day, February 13 became World Radio Day, that is WRD. According to UNESCO, radio is a strong and powerful medium for celebrating humanity in all its diversity and constitutes a platform for democratic discourse. Honorable Speaker, the theme for World Radio Day 2022 is Radio and Trust. This theme has been divided into 3 sub-themes, namely trust radio journalism, trust and accessibility, and trust and viability of radio stations. Honorable Speaker, during this era of digitization, it is certainly the case that although radio is a source of information and provides real-time information, it is slowly losing its place. It has the ability to cross borders and has become valuable where reliable news is scarce due to its affordability. This unique ability to reach the widest audience means local radios play a very significant role in ensuring that local communities access information at their doorsteps. Honorable Speaker, it's notable that vernacular radio stations have been critical in disseminating climate information, which has helped the citizenry make informed decisions about climate change interventions. Mobile surveying platform, that is Geopol, has revealed in its recent research that Radio Citizen, owned by Royal Media Services, was the most listened to station in Kenya. Radio Maisha and Radio Jambo, which broadcast in Swahili, came in second and third respectively. The most popular English radio station was Classic 105, followed by Kiss FM. As we celebrate the World Radio Day, I urge Kenyans to celebrate the lives of legendary Kenyans who played a significant role in the industry who have since departed. Honorable Speaker, I celebrate the late veteran columnist and radio producer Joseph Kilu Nzau, formerly Voice of Kenya, a columnist with Taifa, Leo, that is Wazee Hukumbuka, and Radio Deutsche Welle, West Germany, who recently passed on at the age of 94 years. Veteran journalist Gladys Erude, the legendary radio personality who died at the age of 70 years. Musni Badi, who died at the age of 67. And ex-Kameme FM presenter Jedida Wamboi, who died in the US in December 2021. Mwema Ndunda, a radio presenter from Mukambani region who died at a very young age, having gained a lot of popularity and followers before his life came to an abrupt end. And Jacob Maunda, a committed veteran who died at the age of 62 years, among others, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as we celebrate the World Radio Day, I call upon the national and county governments to support community radio stations. I urge radio stations to be keen and vigilant in disseminating non-discriminative messages of national interest and value, love and peace as the country gears for the electioneering period. Media is a gatekeeper and watchdog and should always endeavor to disseminate uniting messages. It is the center that holds the society in information dissemination. Happy belated World Radio Day, everyone. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I will allow a few comments. I see a request from Honorable Kasanga Sylvia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me start by thanking and congratulating Senator Dr. Gertrude Musuruve, for this statement, because I didn't know we had a World Radio Day until today. So thank you for giving us that information. And indeed, Madam Speaker, we have to say radio from time immemorial has been the one most effective means of communication and sending, word round to human beings ever since it had been, ever since it was discovered and, and made. And we are celebrating humanity and progressing democracy, according to what Senator Gertrude has said. And this theme is something that we need to really internalize here as Kenyans. We have seen here in Africa what radio can do, both positive and both negatively. It has been used very negatively during political seasons and advancing certain political agendas, which I need not mention here, but we have seen what damage radio can do. And as we speak of now World Radio Day, of course, then we have to call for very, what do we say, journalism. Now we have to put a spotlight on journalism, and responsible journalism comes into the fore, and especially at a time like ours now when we are going into very active politics going forward. Let's also mention the fact that radio, right now we are celebrating our vernacular stations, which I think practically every tribe now has a radio station that speaks to its language. And whereas we can say we are balkanizing ourselves, into our tribal cocoons, or, we are promoting probably tribalism in a negative way because we are celebrating our own tribes within our vernacular stations, I would say on the flip side, the positives are so many that it is a more effective method of having a conversation with our people in their own vernacular, the language which they understand. And beyond this, it helps celebrate our heritage. And this is something this House has spoken to, that we need to always celebrate our heritage. And then we also have to, give it that our vernacular stations are giving a platform to our young people so they can produce content that is celebrating our heritage, and that content finds a platform and a place that then they can contribute to the economy. They get paid for this content that they create. And in that sense, then we are expanding, our space for which our young people can participate in the arts as well. I can tell you, back at home in Ukambani, we, of course, like every other tribe, we love our local music. These days, our local music is the in thing. You don't go to a rally and play a song that is from the other sides of Africa, Southern Africa or Western Africa. You actually play what your locals are doing. And our locals have, we have created stars. We have created serious stars within our communities because radio has been the thing that promotes them the most. So we have to celebrate in this context. And another one thing that we have to speak to radio is the fact, of course, of messaging. And, increasingly, we are finding ourselves having to use radio to reach every corner of our country in whatever important message we have to give, including what government has to do, IBC, the registrar of political parties. All these people have to, send messages to Kenyans through radio because that is the most widely method of reaching Kenyans. And the one thing that I will speak to even when I read my statement today is the fact that we are not using such means as the radio to advance the cause of giving information on issues like mental health, which have become such a serious issue in this country. And there's a feeling that we are not doing enough, as a nation to send out the awareness of fighting stigma and telling Kenyans where can we access, help from. And yet radio is a means and a tools that is easily accessible, that does not cost much money, that a government can use to send out this information the same way they will use it for issues of voting and IBC and let's get our voters cards. The same avenue can be used to create, that awareness that is required to help tackle our mental health issues that are strictly on the rise, Madam Speaker. And the same avenue was used when we were fighting HIV in the 80s and in the 90s. And these are the sort of mechanisms then a government can use. So thank you so much, Senator Dr. Musuruve, for that statement. And as I wind up, let us really call for very responsible journalism of our Kenyans, of all our radios, of all the radios, whether in vernacular, English or Kiswahili and otherwise, that in this time of the elections that we are going into, let us not use the radio in any negative way that will affect the lives of Kenyans and the lives of our citizens here today. Let us all be very conscious of that, and us as leaders, as we go out there to send out our message, let us not use the radio in any negative way. So thank you so much for that statement. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Just a reminder that it is simply short comments. The Senate Majority Leader, Senator Pogisu.
Madam Speaker, first of all, I'd like to congratulate Senator Musrube for reminding us of the World Radio Day, and Senator Kasanga for speaking for all of us for all the time. I think, Madam Speaker, that it's so fortunate that World Radio Day, which was pronounced in 2012, happened to have been the time when I was Minister for Information. And we understand that in 2011, the states under UNESCO agreed to pronounce a day, to give a day, which is the 13th of February, to be known as World Radio Day. And so much as the statement comes 4 days later, it is very important for us to remember that radio has come a long way. And Speaker, when I was growing up, I know that during our time, we didn't have access to radio. And radio was found in very few homes. And those homes were really probably homes which were well-to-do. But today, radio is everything, everywhere. It's in the devices that we have. The handheld devices now have radio. So it is, we've gone since then from shortwave radio to what we now call FM radio, which is very popular, which has allowed every community to have a radio station. And we are right, Madam Honorable Kasanga, to say that every community now has something in their wavelength or in their language, being able to communicate. So I'd like to use this opportunity to join the world community in recognizing radio. And this year's theme of radio and trust is very, very important, especially for us who are facing elections this year. Electioneering must be a moment to be cautious, all of us, not to allow radio to be used or misused. And so I want to call upon the Media Council and all those who are responsible to watch the radios, especially the local language radios, because they can be used and misused. I want to use this opportunity to just say thank you and to wish all people a very profitable World Radio Day. I think it is going to be a World Radio season, because if it were a day, it will have passed. Thank you very much.
Senator Sakaja Johnson.
Madam Speaker, this is a good statement. I didn't know there's a World Radio Day. For many of us, every day is a World Radio Day, because radio is the most effective way through which we get to our people and through which we listen to them. In some of our counties that are extremely expansive in terms of population, Nairobi, for instance, has 4.9 million people, 2.5 million voters. The only way you can get through, you can't do enough road shows, go on tracks, town halls. You need radio. So I really acknowledge the role they play, not just in terms of information, but also entertainment. And that is the only point I want to make, Madam Speaker. As of today, media houses owe our musicians $500 million in unpaid royalties. $500 million. The creative sector is a serious economic frontier. We have many young people who take time in studios because of the talent we have. They produce songs. The songs are rotating. There's a rate card. But media houses, and for the last 2-3 years, have not been paying these royalties, Madam Speaker. I think this is something we must talk about, because that is all these musicians depend on, the work of their hands. These media houses are very quick to get money for advertising, they get money from their sponsors, but they're not relaying it back to the artists. I support the media completely, but there are certain things that we must talk about, because if you look at many of our journalists today, on radio, on TV, the people out here in our media center, many of them were put on half pay, and it has not gone back despite the pandemic easing. So the only thing I would urge our media houses and the Communication Authority, please let us find a way to break down this money, even if it is in different installments, so that we can spur the economy. For one song to be produced, there's a producer, there's the artist, there's a sound technician, there's an engineer. There are a lot of people and their families that depend on these arts, that depend on that one song that you hear. So even as we enjoy it, let us remember that artist really requires something to reflect. In many countries, the creative sector is the biggest employer. If you look at Nigeria, the second highest employer is Nollywood after agriculture. Yeah? Because the government has invested in the creative sector. They have invested. If you look at Bollywood in India, they have invested. The thing I want to urge our media houses, and I know this was a pledge by Jubilee, starting from TNA. We pledged, and I hope those who are running for presidency remember, because let's not just use our artists as token, that we want 60% local content on our radio stations and on our TV stations. Our radio stations must play Kenyan music. In fact, in Nigeria, for them to create that, huge economy in the creative, they said during the watershed period, that is between, I think, 7 a.m., was it 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., their local content quota is 90%. When they began, people said, where are we going to get the music? Where are we going to get the shows? But it spurred people to go and produce and to create. Right now, they are exporting. The richest people you find there, apart from the oil barons, are musicians and actors. We can do the same in this country. Let it not be because it's easier not to pay royalties for, foreign music, that in the morning immediately you wake up, what you're hearing is music from the US, music from Nigeria. When you switch on your TV, you're watching Alejandro, you're watching Mexican soap operas. Get our young people, just go right now to KNT. You'll find many of them just sitting there with a lot of talent and their guitars. And that's why many are getting into drugs. So even as we upload radio, and I am a big supporter of media and media freedom, let us please see how to partner in balance in terms of how they make sure that our artists, the creative economy, the creative sector, our performers get the value for the work that they're doing. I want to wish everybody in that sector a happy World Radio, International Radio Day. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Munyihaji Mohamed Faki.
Asante Bispika kwa kunipa fursa hii pia kuitilia nguvu statement iliyoletwa na Senator Musruve kuhusiana na kusherehekea kwa siku ya redio ulimwenguni. Mheshimiwa Spika, redio inacheza mahali pakubwa katika mawasiliano katika nchi yetu na ulimwengu kwa jumla. Mheshimiwa Spika, hapo nyuma ilipokuwa redio yetu ilikuwa ni KBC peke yake, ni idhaa ya taifa ya Kenya peke yake, tulikuwa watu wengi wanapendelea kusikiza BBC, hususan ile habari ya saa 1 usiku na habari ya saa 1 asubuhi, ambapo tulikuwa tupata maelezo ama ripoti za Kenya zile ambazo redio za Kenya yenyewe zilikuwa haziwezi kuzungumzia. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, redio ndio imetumika pakubwa kuweza kutoa habari, vile vile pia kuelimisha watu. Mheshimiwa Kajwang jana alikuwa akizungumzia kipindi cha shule wakati fulani miaka ya 70, ambapo ilikuwa kinaanza na wimbo ule nilipokuwa kijana nilicheza na masomo, na wengi tulikuwa twasoma katika vipindi kama vile ambavyo vilikuwa vimeletwa ili kuelimisha jamii kwa jumla na vile vile kuelimisha wanafunzi ambao wako katika mashule. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, katika historia redio imecheza sehemu kubwa kabisa katika kuleta maendeleo, kuleta vile vile muamko na vile vile pia kusomesha watu na starehe pia kwa njia tofauti. Tunaona kwamba wengi wanapata fursa ya kupata burudani. Ukiwa uko kazini, unaweza kufungua redio yako wakati wa saa 4 mpaka saa 6 unapata burudani wakati wa zamani wa KBC na redio nyingine ambazo kwa sasa ziko hewani. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, chombo cha redio kinacheza mchezo mkubwa sana katika mchakato wa maendeleo, mchakato wa siasa na vile vile pia mchakato wa maisha kwa jumla. Mheshimiwa Spika, wenzangu waliotangulia wamezungumzia kuhusiana na kutumika vibaya kwa redio. Ni kweli imewahi kutumika hapo nyuma na hatungependa kwenda sehemu hizo kwa wakati wa sasa ambapo tunaelekea katika mchakato wa kura kura kuu, uchaguzi mkuu ambao utafanyika tarehe 8 mwezi wa 8 mwaka huu. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba ni lazima chombo cha redio kitiliwe nguvu. Tumeona kwamba wasanii wengi wanaweza kutumia redio hizi ili kuleta sanaa zao katika watu kujua na kuweza kununua, yani kupeleka sokoni sanaa zao, lakini wengi Mheshimiwa Spika hawalipo. Utapata kwamba wale ambao wameweza kutunga nyimbo zao, wametunga mashairi yao Mheshimiwa Spika, yakaweza kuchezwa katika redio hizi, kwa sasa wanahangaika katika walindi la umaskini, lakini ile talanta yao ambao wameweza kuitumia kuleta vitu kama hivi ambavyo watu wanasikiza kwa wingi, nyimbo zinachezwa kwa wingi katika redio na sehemu zingine, lakini hawapati mapato kulingana na zile sanaa ambazo wameweza kufanya. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, tunapoangalia masuala haya, tunapoadhimisha siku hii, ni wakati mwafaka wa kuweza kutafakari ni vipi tutaweza kusaidia talanta nyingi ambazo ziko katika kila jamii hivi sasa nchini Kenya. Ukienda kila mahali hivi sasa, kama wewe ni mwanasiasa, utatungiwa wimbo wa jamii ile ambayo unaiwakilisha ama ile jamii ambao ungependa kuwatumikia katika either bunge la county ama bunge la kitaifa, senate ama hata rais, wanakutungia nyimbo kulingana na ile jamii ambayo unataka. Kwa hivyo talanta hii Mheshimiwa Spika kwa katika kile jamii, na hivi sasa tumeona kwamba kuna redio nyingi za kitamaduni, traditional ama vernacular radios, ambazo zile zinachukua fursa kubwa ya kuweza kuelimisha jamii pia katika maeneo yake. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kuonya tu kwamba hizi redio za kitamaduni ama za kienyeji zisitumike kuchochea wananchi, hususan wakati wa sasa ambao tunakwenda katika kura, kwa sababu hiyo itaondoa ama itajaribu kuvunja umoja wa nchi ambao sisi sote tunapigania tuwe na Kenya moja, tuwe watu wa moja, ili sote tuweze kusonga mbele kimaendeleo, kuliko kuigawanya nchi kikabila. Sisi tuko kabila fulani, tuko sehemu fulani, kwa hivyo sehemu hii haturuhusu mtu mwingine wa kabila nyingine kuja kusimama katika eneo letu na mambo kama hayo. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, tuwaonya tupate fursa kwamba ile media council iwe macho, hususan wakati huu wa sasa ambapo tunakwenda kwenye kura, kuhakikisha kwamba hizi redio za kienyeji hazitumiki vibaya katika mchakato wa kura. Asante Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Senator Masitsa Naomi Shionga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the statement raised by my sister, Senator Msuruve, on the World Radio Day. It's good that you have reminded some of us. I'm in that category of those people who didn't know that today is a World Radio Day. And it's good to bring such a statement in this House in honor of us celebrating that the World Radio Day.
Senator, I think it's not today. Her statement has just come in a bit late. But the World Radio Day should be 13th.
I know it. Is it 14th? Was it 13th?
13th.
Yeah. And it's good that we are all informed of its importance. And Madam Speaker, I want just to say that World Radio Day is a very important day for us to celebrate, and not only celebrating but also honoring it in what it has done into us using that medium of communication to reach the most important and local people at the lower level. Madam Speaker, the radio are not only medium of communication, but they also grow talents to our youth, they grow talents to our communities. For us even to discover those talents, those small and vibrant talents that grow up within an individual. most of these individuals are using radios. So I want to say that let us continue celebrating radio station. Let us continue celebrating radio as a medium of communication. And it is very important that we all note that even us as legislatures, we use radio mostly to reach our campaign, to reach our voters, to educate our voters, and to make sure that the vote that we are given during elections, it is through this medium that we are able to communicate with our electorates. They are the ones that, the radios are the ones that enable us reach those citizens. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I want also to say that radio is very important. Especially at this during this time of digital, whereby when I want to listen to radio, I do not need to go to my home to listen to the radio. It has gone further into implementing the same through the modern medium or even through the phone calls, cell phone, sorry, that you can switch on your phone and you switch on to that medium and you look for the content, you look for the radio station that you want and you listen to it without wasting a lot of time or without any delay. So it is a very important gadget that is enabling us reach or get information in the real time without any delay. So I want just to appreciate Senator Musurube that it is good to remind us, and it is good that you have enabled us and realize that World Radio Day is celebrated, and it is a unique ability to reach the widest audience in the Republic of Kenya, not only Republic of Kenya, across the board. Everyone listens to the radio. Even if I want to listen to my radio and the waves or the wavelength then allows me, even if I'm in any corner of this world, I'm able to listen to what is happening in my community. I'm able to listen to what is happening in my country. I'm able to be updated through this media. So I join you into celebrating the World Radio Day, and it is good that we recognize it as Kenyans and even internationally. The Radio World Day or World Radio Day is recognized. I want to thank you, Madam Speaker, and I support the statement. Thank you.
Senator Cherargei Samson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I think media freedom has come a long way, and part of the well-celebrated 2010 Constitution is media freedom that has been enshrined under Article 34 and 35 of the Constitution of Kenya. Madam Speaker, radio plays a critical role, and I think now they have gone online. It is now digital. You can listen in, and I agree it has more coverage than individuals. And all of us in the political arena appreciate the fact that that radio is a more useful tool because it can be used for information. It can be used also to ensure we disseminate information, Madam Speaker. And therefore, I really want to thank Senator Mzuruve and appreciate yesterday, Madam Speaker, the other day, I was reading, there is this famous artist who died in 2003, Wahome Mutai. It's called The Whispers. And when you read that way back, I think around late 80s, he was arrested then by the then government because the government was against the media freedom. So when you look at the history of media freedom, and he used to use satire to critique the government of the day, to pass the message to the people. So I think media, by and large, is very critical. More so the radios that we have nowadays, there is a lot of media freedom. We have vernacular radio stations. I don't know whether it will increase issues of tribal aspirations. Nowadays, we have even ghetto radios that speak in street language. You have the mainstream radio stations that have always been there. I think the point is that even as we approach the general election, Madam Speaker, we request that CAK, Commission Authority of Kenya, should be on a lookout to ensure that no one uses radio to spread hate or to incite Kenyans against each other. I think radio stations should play a critical role, Madam Speaker, by ensuring that they become part of ensuring, calling out Kenyans to vote, to participate as their civic duty, but also to remain peaceful. Second and finally, Madam Speaker, is on the aspect of our artists. Most airwaves radio stations depend, I think, by and large 60% to 70% of the radio programs that we have, Madam Speaker, depend largely on the music. But unfortunately, as a country, and I agree with my brother, say that at least 60% should be local content. When you open the radio station, when you watch the TV, they only either you will listen for rain music, or you will watch for rain Mexican soap operas or Nigerian movies or any other, but there is no local content, Madam Speaker. The only way to create opportunities, the only way to ensure young people are engaged is by coming up with 60%. I know the practitioners in media, be it radio stations and television networks and online networks, will say, where will we get the 60% songs that we can play content? Where will we get the local telenovelas, Madam Speaker? I think for the Magic, there is a TV called Magic something. I don't know. It is in DSTV, I think number 263, thereabout. It really tries to, Magic Africa, it tries to put local, although it involves more of Eastern African movies. I think that is what we should encourage, so that the young people who go to Kenya cinema to practice, the young people who go to studios to play their music. Madam Speaker, it is very unfortunate that when you want to listen to music, you turn on your television, you turn on your radio, all the music that you listen are either from abroad, Europe or America, or Nigeria or Tanzania here, our neighbors. They have very good music, but I think the Kenyan music can become more better by ensuring, because most of the people sometimes like listening to bongo flavor. When we have genge, we have ghetto. I know Senator Getua is familiar with this, because most likely on Fridays he listens to it more often when he's on a reverend. So, Madam Speaker, what I want to say is that it can be possible to ensure that we have local content. It can be possible to put local content in the radio. So I really want to thank Senator Msuruve and wish a belated radio all the best. And she's been very active, Madam Speaker, and wish her well. I know she might be running for MP of Lugari, so we want to wish her well, Madam Speaker, and say I agree and wish that we protect the media freedom. That is what we can as a country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mary Yene.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for also giving me a chance to congratulate my friend Senator Gertrude Musurufe for reminding us the very important Radio Day. Radio, Madam Speaker, has for many years been used for accessibility of information and an affordable way of getting information. When we were growing up, many of us did not have TVs. Neither our parents did not have the TVs in the houses, but they used to get a lot of information from radios. And therefore, radios have really remained very relevant as a media, a way of getting information. I just want to say that radio, as a way of getting information, should give the public right information, relevant information, important information, and especially issues to do with the social growth of the communities, issues to do with economic growth. The radio should really emphasize on programs that can assist our youth, our communities on how to grow their economy. Of course, bottom-up model. I wish the radio can also take a chance to really assist our people in terms of getting information to be able to
emphasize on programs that can grow them. Madam Speaker, radios have also remained an affordable way of getting information rather than the cell phones where you need to have airtime, you need to charge your phone using electricity, of course, which is also another expensive way to sustain your medium of communication. But radios have really been affordable for the community. And therefore, if we can build up, make it more creative, make it more relevant in terms of helping Kenyans, in terms of helping the world in growing ideas in social aspects. At times I listen, Madam Speaker, to these radio programs in the morning when I'm preparing to get out of the house. And some of them have really tried to enrod our systems, our social fabric in terms of kind of criticizing marriage, in kind of criticizing every other time, instead of helping us to pass information that are important in terms of instilling social values to our young generation, emphasizing social life, emphasizing family life, emphasizing education, emphasizing production in terms of agriculture, in terms of all other means of production in the country. And therefore, I think the radio as a media of way of communication should improve its content. It should improve its content. It should also live with technology. It should also be creative. Otherwise, I really wish Senator Musrufe well. She has been a very, very active member of this House in terms of even reminding us to celebrate other institutions. Thank you.
We move to the next statement by Senator Abshiro Halake. Not there. That one is dropped. And then we move to statements pursuant to Standing Order 48.1. Senator Isaac Ngugi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the status of the Kenya Engineering Technology Registration Board, KETRAB. In the statement, the committee should, number one, state the reason or reasons for non-reconstitution of the KETRAB more than 2 years after the term of the first board ended on 24th October 2019. 2, elucidate on when a new board will be appointed to enable execution of its mandate as outlined in Clause 5 of the Engineering Technology Act 2016. Number 3, explain the rationale behind placing the said board under the Ministry of Education, whereas other similar boards which regulate professionals who work in conjunction with KETRAB, such as Engineers Board of Kenya, EBK, Kenya Roads Board, KRB, and the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors, BORAX, are all under the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development, and Public Works. And number 5, outline the measures put in place by the Ministry of Education, if any, to ensure that the activities of KETRAB are funded by the government in order to ease the burden on members and effectively regulate the practice of engineering technology in the country. Thank you.
short comments for 3 minutes. Senator Gertrude Musuruve.
Thank you, Speaker. I want to thank Senator Ngugi for coming up with this statement because engineering is a specialized course and it doesn't need to stop. I'm aware, the Honorable Speaker, that there are a number of universities that offer engineering, which is a very salient course in this country. And even as we talk about engineering, this board being reconstituted, Honorable Speaker, there is need to ensure that it is also composed of females also. There's need to interrogate the number of women on this board, Honorable Speaker. Just recently, we were celebrating the World Women's Science Day, and the world is towards encouraging women to do engineering subjects and all that, Honorable Speaker. So even as you talk about funding on engineering, Honorable Speaker, there's need for the government also to ensure that it is encouraging women who are taking up engineering, courses and funding them. And not only funding them, but ensuring that once they complete their courses, they're also employed so that they get attracted to, STEM subjects, Honorable Speaker. I support this statement. And when it comes to our committee, I want to assure the Senator that we'll do the best we can in education to ensure that the composition of the board is actually constituted and it is also gender sensitive in terms of the composition, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Senator Cherargei Samson.
Madam Speaker, I want to support the statement by Senator Isaac Ngugi, and I want to thank him for standing with hustlers because I know most of the young people really need this certification. And I agree with him that the one point I just want to emphasize is that most of the professional bodies are regulated under the specific ministries. And I hope when the Minister of Education appear, should tell the Senate of the Republic of Kenya or Parliament, why is it that this was taken under the Ministry of Education? Because naturally, professional bodies are managed under specific, like he has highlighted, like Kenya Roads Board, among other agencies that are under within that parent ministry. So I really want to emphasize that it should be relooked at. I don't know whether it was because of policy or what have you. Second and finally, it is shocking. And all, Madam Speaker, I want to appeal that we look at, Madam Speaker, government agencies are funded by taxpayers' money. And this can form ground of even impeachment, because how can the board stay without being reconstituted within 2 years? It looks like the ministry or the minister in charge of education, I don't know, it's called Professor Magua or somebody, that needs, Madam Speaker, I don't know what is wrong with the majority whip. I don't know what is our problem. Is that what I'm just emphasizing is it is the dereliction of duty. And therefore, it must answer for 2 years, Madam Speaker. Yet we resource and finance those government agencies to function. This is our money. These are legislative things that have been put in place, Madam Speaker. So I hope when the minister appears, I hope when Senator Gitua will appear before the
Senator
committee.
Faria, you have an intervention?
Ensure that
Order, Senator Cherargei.
Madam Speaker, since my
Order, Senator Cherargei. Senator Faria has something to say. Senator Faria.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, is it in order for Senator Cherargei to belittle a whole CS who is old enough to be his father, who is a very respectable professor in this country? Is that in order? I think Senator Cherargei should have at least little respect for his elders. I mean, we can criticize people, but at least let's be a bit more respectful.
Senate Majority Leader. Senator Sakaja.
Madam Speaker, I think we shouldn't use this platform and this privilege to, really speak in a disdainful manner to people who are not in this house. Madam Speaker, my former VC and good friend, Professor Magoha, who we worked very closely with when I was a student leader at the university, is a very respectable man. He's done a lot in education. In as much as there could be a question as to why this has not been done, I think we should not impute, improper motive or try to belittle someone of that stature. C.S. Magoha is a great, great Kenyan. Madam Speaker, I think that statement should be withdrawn. That is not the tone or the language of the Senate. The Senate is a respectable house. And the reason why cabinet secretaries actually always come to Senate when we call them, at least my committee, is because they know even if there's an issue, it's dealt with respectfully. So I'll ask my colleague in Kenya Kwanza, because that's also not the language. We've brought a new vibe in Kenya Kwanza. That is not the language we want. Please withdraw that and apologize to the good CS Magoha, but let him come and give us answers. And I have something to say on that as well, Madam Speaker. Can I proceed? Can I now proceed?
Senator Cherargei, I want to hear from you on the concerns by the senators.
You have not. Madam Speaker, I think my statement is being blown out of context. What I just asked was why the CS dereliction of duty, yet for the last 2 years he should have formed the board. That's what I just said. I didn't speak it in a disrespectful manner. I just said, and I don't know why the deputy majority whip is excited. Even if you want to show the government you are doing your job you don't need to behave in a manner likely to say. So, Madam Speaker, I just requested that why was the dereliction of duty? I don't, Senator, my colleague in Kenya Kwanza, Senator and incoming governor of Nairobi, has put it very well, that Professor Magoha is a efficient man, but on this one there is dereliction of duty because it is 2 years they have not formed the board. I thought that is dereliction of duty, Madam Speaker. It was my opinion.
Senator,
it was made in bad faith.
Senator Cherargei, it is how you described him. It's not the duties you are talking about. I heard you right, and the answer will reflect. You said, I don't know what is called or something, I think you need to apologize to a senior member of this country and give him the correct.
No, I apologize to Kenyans that I think it is judicially aware that the CS for education is, the last time we were in government, it was still Professor Magoha, so I hope he's still the one. So I apologize if I misled the House that he's still not the CS.
Senate Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, if the chair allows Senator Cherargei to be selective on how he apologizes, he's apologizing on something different. And he should have actually withdrawn the statement about Magoha. And did you also hear, Madam Speaker, how the Senator for Nandi spoke about a distinguished deputy whip, that all she's saying is trying to impress somebody? I mean, that is also not fair, Madam Speaker. And I think Cherargei, in his final year, should really getting more serious than he is. And I really count on you, Madam Speaker, to make sure that he's held accountable to some of his wit and words that he wants to spend. On that note, I am now going to give my statement.
Senator Pogisio, you have raised another issue on the Senate majority whip. Senator Cherargei, I think you need to just respect the members of this House as well as respect those that are not out, that are out here, that are not in this House. And if you have to talk about the CS Magoha, then you have to be making a substantive motion on that effect. But if you're talking about the Senate majority whip in that manner, then you also need to withdraw.
Madam Speaker, I withdraw on the part where I used the name Professor Makoa. So I withdraw on that. But on the second part of my deputy majority whip, when I say to impress someone, it could be to impress Kenyans that is working. I thought that is not an offense. Or impress where she comes from, or the voters, or impress the majority leader. You know, when you work, you impress your voters. So I made it in good faith. It shows that she is working. So I don't need to withdraw on that one, really, Madam Speaker. But on the part of Professor Magoa, I withdraw and apologize unreservedly.
Senate Majority Leader. Senate Majority Leader, I thought you are going to comment on the statement by Isaac Ngugi. Then let us move to Senator Kajwang Moses Otieno. 3 minutes for each of you.
Madam Speaker, I rise to support the statement by Senator Ngugi IG, Senator who has taken his role very naturally and very quickly. Mr. Speaker, I want to pray that even in the next Senate, Senator Ngugi will get an opportunity to at least serve some 5 years in the Senate on behalf of the young people of Kenya. I've just been reflecting on why engineering technologists require a different legal framework from other engineers. And Madam Speaker, I know many of us are debating or contributing to this without fully understanding who engineering technologists are. But then, Madam Speaker, if you look at the Engineering Technologists Act, the definition of engineering technology is the most convoluted definition you'd find in any act of parliament. If you read it, it is a definition that is one paragraph that has almost 96 words in one paragraph. So this definition was definitely done by an engineer who did not have skills to make things easy and to make life easy. But I do support Senator Githua's proposal that we find ways of placing engineering technologists under the same ministry where the other engineers are regulated. And Madam Speaker, I do not think that engineering technologists are any lesser than engineers. Everyone has got unique skills, everyone has got unique responsibilities. You cannot say that a civil engineer is so important that a plumber or a mason should not be regulated by the same body. If I was to be asked, and I've seen engineers like Ephraim Maina have come in, if I was to be asked, I would perhaps say that the Engineers Board and the act that provides for the Engineers Board should be the same act that provides for engineering technologists. But I know that the professionals have got reasons for this, and I do hope that the good Professor Magoa, when he comes to the House, that Senator Cherargei will be civil and he will allow Professor Magoa to explain why this board has not been constituted. I support, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mwaura online. Senator Mwaura, can you hear us?
Madam Speaker, I think it's very important for
Senator Mwaura.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, Madam Speaker.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Madam Speaker, I can hear you.
Your volume?
My volume is high. Can you hear me now?
That's a bit better.
Madam Speaker?
Yes.
Yeah, so I want to contribute to this statement and really say that there seems to be a clear difference between the classification of real engineers and the technologists. And even the bill that was passed in the 11th Parliament concerning their own registration, in terms of the operationalization, I don't know
what is happening to your volume. We can't hear you clearly.
Oh, okay then, Madam Speaker, because I can't do much from my end. I thought I'm audible enough.
We are seeing part of your face. And okay, now that's better, but we need to hear you.
Okay, Madam Speaker, I want to say that I support...
Yes, Senate, there is a point of order from Senate Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. Yeah? Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Where is Senator Mwaura? Madam Speaker, yesterday, Senator Mwaura was ruled out of order by the chair. By the way he was dressed yesterday, he hasn't changed much about his hat and, and about, you see, Madam Speaker. So we would like to see him fully so you can see if he's properly dressed. And then, Madam Speaker, you can rule if it's order. That hat was refused yesterday. He was asked to go back and dress appropriately. Maybe you can do the same.
Senator Mwaura, have you heard the intervention by Senate Majority Leader on your dress code?
Madam Speaker, I'm properly dressed. I have my hat on, and I don't think there's any prescription for what kind of hat I'm supposed to be wearing, because this one is supposed to help me with the sun and also the light. So I really don't know whether the leader of majority, really the point of order is in order, because for me, I am properly dressed. And this is all the same thing that happened to me, Madam Speaker, yesterday. I was ready to prosecute the Persons with Disabilities Bill. I had to wait for the whole day, and I didn't prosecute it, purely on account of the hat that I was wearing. And truly, that's not fair.
Yes, just hold on, Senator Mwaura, be online.
Yes, yeah. So
I need to look at my standing orders on this one.
Yeah, I need to say clearly that there is a discrimination between the so-called real engineers and the technologists, and the minister needs to come and clarify exactly in terms of qualifications what needs to be done so that then they can be at par, or even in terms of qualifications there can be some kind of aggravated hierarchy.
Order, Senator Mwaura. Order, Senator Mwaura. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, are you able to hear me?
Just hold on, Senator Mwaura.
Yeah, so I was saying that because of that, then it is important that this statement be properly canvassed.
Senator Mwaura, you can't hear me. I need to rule as to whether you are properly dressed before this house. So just hold on.
Aye, this is not fair. This is how he dresses all the time.
Senator Mwaura, I can't hear you well. I need to move to the next person as I make a ruling on whether you are properly dressed.
Madam Speaker, this is really not fair at all. I mean, I have explained myself why I wear this hat. It's because of the light.
You have explained. I need to make a ruling on that. There is an objection.
Okay.
Senator Farhia, please proceed. Senator Kasanga Sylvia.
Mike, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank Senator Ngugi for this statement and for him representing our young people out there in the profession, in the built environment profession. And, I just want to say that our professionals need to realize that they have people here in Parliament to fight for them. A lot of times, we don't take it seriously. When we are in the professional field, we live in a bubble, and we don't realize that we need to know who is in Parliament and who can help us. And this is good for Senator Ngugi to bring this statement. I was just sharing this here with the Senator of Homa Bay here. I don't know why he didn't want to acknowledge that we were discussing this and trying to figure out who are engineering technologists, and we got the information. And indeed, the diplomas and certificates in our country form the majority of our young people post-secondary school education, and they need to be supported. And this is the body of professionals, young people, who support the other professionals. Madam Speaker, I need some protection, please, from a lot of noise.
Yes, proceed, Senator Kasanga.
So I am saying that these young people in certificates and in diplomas. They form the majority of post-secondary school education students, and they need to be supported. So it is shocking that our students of engineering technologies have finished their studies in diploma and certificates, and they're still hanging out there because they can't get jobs for lack of certification and the requirements that they need for them to be able to secure a job. So I want to thank Senator Ngugi for this statement.
Senator Sakaja, order Senator Kasanga. Let's hear from Senator Kasanga's
Madam Speaker,
intervention.
I've tried to tolerate this, but it's too difficult. Senator Kajwang is too close to Senator Kasanga. I don't mind the gentleman here, but we have COVID rules, and the chairs are marked sit here. Is Senator Kajwang in order to be that close? And is really distracting Senator Kasanga. In fact, she's not usually smiling like this. She's too enthusiastic. Madam Speaker, please, we need order. Please rule. The gentleman on my left, it's okay. But that side,
I think you're being discriminative, Senator Sakaja, because there are three gentlemen seated next to each other, but you only single out Senator Kasanga. If it is COVID rules, it applies to all of us. So can we abide by the rules for everybody? Yes, Senator Pogisio.
Madam Speaker, just to get back to the point of Senator Mwaura. Madam Speaker, if it may help, that you have a special exemption.
I am yet to rule on that.
Now that we understand his situation, if he's somewhere campaigning in the sun, he's stopped by the wayside to make his comments. Because when he was there, we were hearing vehicles and ambulances and things like that. So, but I think given your capacity and power, some of these things can be exempted. I do understand. I'm not raising the issue out of order. I'm raising the issue because there's a dress code. But since you have the powers to rule, you can actually do that. Thank you.
Maybe let me just conclude on that so that we go back to Senator Kasanga's. Having looked at the rules, if Senator Mwaura was dressed like that in this house, then we would have ruled him out of order and that he was not properly dressed. But Senator Isaac Mwaura is out there in the sun. We understand his condition, which is albinism, and he's therefore properly dressed for purposes of outside dressing in the sun. If he was in here, it would have been something different. So we need to appreciate that he has explained why he's dressed in the manner that he's dressed. So he's properly dressed. So we will be asking Senator Mwaura to come back after Senator Kasanga has finished so that we can hear him on his... And to Senator Mwaura, kindly please also adjust your volume so that when you come back, we'll be able to hear you. Senator Kasanga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was just winding up my comments to Senator Ngugi's statement that indeed our young people who are post-secondary school education doing their diplomas and their certificates need to be supported because they are actually a large population of post-secondary school education students. And before I sit down, I can invite the good senator of Nairobi. If at all he wants to join us here to caucus, he doesn't have to be worried or anything like that. He's welcome to join us. Thank you.
Senator Sakaja may as well now make his comments on this statement.
Madam Speaker, Senator Kasanga's invitation is noted, and my dismay was also on the record. But Kajwang will have to move. I will not join when he's still there. It will not work. Madam Speaker, I want to thank my mentee, Senator Githua, for the work he's doing and for really being a voice of the people he's representing. I was first nominated to Parliament to represent the youth, and there's a blessing when you speak for those who are vulnerable and for our generation. Madam Speaker, I want to say two things. One, it is unfortunate when the government puts unnecessary hurdles to our young people. We're dealing with a huge problem of unemployment. It's the greatest challenge in this country. The biggest threat to our security as it is, Madam Speaker, is not Al-Shabaab, it is not terrorists, it is unemployed, disillusioned young people who are out there and are not seeing a government that is going out of its way proactively to actually help them find jobs. If for 2 years, anybody who has that certification, or rather that qualification, cannot get a certificate, it means they cannot get hired. It means they cannot get job opportunities. Madam Speaker, when I led my committee to the Middle East, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, what they told us there, first of all, they love Kenyans. There's 88,000 Kenyans working there. Unfortunately, some have gone through a lot of harrowing experiences in domestic workers. But they have been asking Kenya for a BLA, a bilateral labor agreement on skilled workers. They want engineers, they want doctors, they want cobblers, they want masons, they want electricians, because they're building a new city. And in that new city, the potential for jobs is another 1 million people, and they prefer Kenyans. Our government has been dragging its feet in signing the BLA between Kenya and Saudi Arabia, yet we cannot provide jobs here. We are actually a country that is seen as a labor exporter. Madam Speaker, this country doesn't have oil. I don't know, the experiment that happened in Turkana hasn't yielded much. We don't have gold. We don't have, our biggest resource is not under the ground, it's above the ground. It's our people. To show that a government is actually sluggish or unwilling to facilitate these people who have gone to school, they have paid fees, they have done everything, but they cannot get accreditation, is extremely unfortunate. So I hope my friend and my former VC, Professor Magoha, when he comes, he can be able to explain that. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, because we've asked these questions, first of all, that matter was supposed to be under CS Macharia, because he's the one who deals with that sector. I don't know how it was moved, Senator Githua. There's something that is sitting on CS Macharia's table, and I've tried to communicate to him today. He's told me to talk to his PS. Madam Speaker, we brought the issue of digital taxi workers, Uber, Bolt. We agreed on regulations because there is a minimum amount that should be set in terms of the fees. These people are complaining. They are suffering. Madam Speaker, I know they are soon going to go on strike if we don't have those regulations passed. Madam Speaker, and I know you know about this issue. You were recently called by a colleague who was asking where this thing reached. The Committee on Delegated Legislation must tell us where these regulations have reached. The ministry is trying to engage consultants. I told the consultants for what? We just need to agree on a pricing formula that takes into account fuel, takes into account wear and tear, takes into account, car wash, and all of these other variables. And AA of Kenya, I've been fighting this thing from 2015. AA of Kenya, the Automobile Association, already has a template. So the CS, all it needs to do, because I know the app companies have a problem with the commission. When you enter an Uber, immediately 25% goes to the Netherlands. But the drivers who have even spoken to today are saying, okay, we can leave that commission, but we agree on a minimum pricing formula. Because today, when they set a good rate, you'll take a taxi from here to the airport and pay 600 shillings, honestly, in traffic, and you know the cost of fuel. But they're saying when one company sets a good rate that is good for the customer and for the drivers, the other company now lowers their rate, and it's a race to the bottom. These people are suffering. Please, Madam Speaker, ask the Committee on Delegated Legislation to tell us where these regulations are. They need to be gazetted within the week. And I know everybody who's representing young people and hustlers, because these drivers are all hustlers, they're hustling. Senator Muranga, recently, I know a friend who sent, and now he's a competitor, he sent an Uber to Muranga and it was 1,200 shillings. What is that? The reason we have so many accidents on the road is that they're driving for 24 hours because they cannot pay their loans. 4,000 of these taxis were being auctioned last year, January. And those who went to take them from the auction were going to put them back to do Uber business, Madam Speaker. So please, it's a matter of national importance and urgency that CS Macharia needs to address, and our Committee on Delegated Legislation. Thank you so much.
Yes, I sit in the Delegated Legislation Committee, and I'm aware that the chair is aware of the concerns, and he was here, but I can see he's not here, but he's not here now, but I'm sure he will take it up and to report back. But being a member of that committee, I'll follow up. Now, Senator Ongeri Samson.
Thank you,
Senator
Madam.
Irungu Kangata, you've not requested to speak, so Can you do the
Madam
necessary
Speaker,
to be able to speak?
for giving me this opportunity to also add up to what Senator Isaac Ngugi Githua has brought to our attention in this Senate. One of the things that I've noticed is the non-establishment of the board for Kenya Engineering Technology Registration Board. In the professional categories, these are the people who are post-secondary education, and some of them may have been post-KCPE and went through the middle-level colleges, particularly the Institutes of Technology and also the other polytechnics that have been established in the earlier years when I was the Minister for Technology and Applied, the Minister for Applied Technology and Applied Technology, of Science and Applied Technology. One of the reasons why these boards were established is because I realized there was a majority of the young Kenyans who had attained certain cadre of professional training. They were not graduates, but they had gone through the certification process, and therefore we needed to be able to grade them and be in a particular level and hence be regulated. And this is why the boards were being set up. That's why the Act was set up. For instance, we have the technologies in the equivalent of in the Ministry of Health. You have technologists who are health technicians, those who are health, who are laboratory technicians, those who are pharmaceutical, pharmacology technologists, many others who are known, who had not reached the graduate level, but through the skill upgrading and through training, through vocational and technical training institutions, have acquired a certain level of standards to be certified that they can practice and work under a profession and under a particular board of the management. And this is what has happened to this board. I believe this was an offshoot of the original Kenya Polytechnic, which I turned into the Technology University of Nairobi. And therefore, these people, and I'm not surprised that it's domiciled under the Ministry of Education, because originally the Kenya National Polytechnic was under the Ministry of Education. I'm the one who will be able to process it to the university level, and they have reached that level. So I think what is important here is that these people must be regulated, because if they are practicing unregulated, they are a disaster to society. And I think that's the main point that Senator Ngugi is trying to bring to our attention, that regulation is critical. If you get a quack practicing as a technologist and has no certification and is not qualified, then we're in danger of many other professional level, and that's why this board must be in place. I thank you, Madam Speaker, for this attention.
Senator Isaac Mwaura.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to join my colleagues in expressing my concerns about the fact that this bill...
we can't see your face, and your volume has to be up.
Can you hear me now, Madam Speaker?
Yes, not so bad.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I want to say that it is true, the issue of regulations in terms of the technology bill is very important.
But did you hear the ruling we made on the dressing?
Yes, I had the ruling, and thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Okay, then proceed.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I want to say that that bill, the move by my friend Isaac Ngugi, by namesake, who is interestingly was nominated somehow surprisingly to replace the name Isaac in the Senate, but anyway, now we are two Isaacs. It's a very good move because the young people are being discriminated. For you to work as an engineer, it becomes a very big problem because of certification. And there is some kind of cartelism that is happening with our engineers because they don't want their area to be populated with people. Yet, actually, Madam Speaker, if you ask any senator here in a construction site, the people who get to do the job are these technologies. They are more practical, they are not theorists, and they are able to deliver the work at a much lower cost. So there's a whole issue of payment and undercutting. But then, of course, it does not preclude the fact that an engineering firm can get all the works and have the technologies to do the job. So that is the politics around it. And the former women rep, I think for Bomet, if I'm not wrong, is the one who sponsored this bill. So it's long overdue that we have the regulations put in place. I think the minister in charge needs to be given, to be summoned to come and explain why is it that this has not been done with regards to empowering young people. And, Madam Speaker, we all know for sure that this country belongs to the young people. They are the majority. They are the ones who are hustling out there. They are the ones who are doing the donkey work. And even when you look at even other professions like law, it's the same old thing. The older lawyers do not want to have young entrants who are really highly underpaid. So I think these regulations are going to operationalize the act and ensure that we have more people on board. And in any case, Madam Speaker, it helps the country in the long run, because then you have substandard buildings collapsing and people losing property and life and property. Then this also then bring into the ambit all of the people who would otherwise qualify, who would be seen as quacks, to be superintended by this, technologies bill. So I think, Madam Speaker, I support, and I want to congratulate Isaac Ngugi for bringing this, this issue at hand, because that is what the special seats in the Parliament, in this case the Senate, are supposed to represent, so that the young people can feel that they are represented. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, there are so many other bills that have been passed by this House, but they are still, lying in shelves. They are not been, their life has not been printed into it. Maybe we need to ask, in terms of the procedure of legislation, that we don't have to wait for regulations for a bill to take effect. As long as it has been assented to, it needs to take effect immediately. Let the regulations follow. Madam Speaker, I support.
Senator Milgo, 3 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this chance to support this statement. First of all, let me thank Senator Isaac Senator Ngugi for bringing this statement. This is a very important statement. It's coming to my committee, and I know my committee will get to the bottom of this. But I want to say in the onset that maybe the critical issue that is in this statement is the fact that reconstitution of the board is long overdue. But I want to say, Madam Speaker, that the fact that this particular board is domiciled in the Ministry of Education earlier on came as a result of the fact that there were very many people offering courses in technology right across the country, just like teaching profession. There were private colleges offering teacher training courses. And when it came to the actual registration by the Teacher Service Commission, it was noted that those teachers were not qualified, Madam Speaker. And people trained on technology were also so many. There were various courses, colleges that had come up to train technologists, engineers in various certificates, and some of them were not up to standard. And in this case, the Ministry of Education had to bring this particular board to come under it, so that they are able to actually ascertain, maintain the standard, ascertain its quality, so that before actually offering registration certificates, these people are actually deemed to be the right kinds of people. We've had, Madam Speaker, a number of structures that collapsed after being constructed. Some of the buildings that have gone up to as high as 5-story buildings, sometimes injuring people, have been done by very shorty people that got their certificates under very shorty conditions. So, Madam Speaker, I'm sure before even this board is reconstituted, we need clear regulations so that we ensure that those people that are going to be registered are the qualified people to be able to actually do the job as per the standards. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, because this statement is still coming to my committee, we will be able to do proper research and bring the proper report to this particular house. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support this statement.
We move to the next statement. That is a statement by Sylvia Kasanga.
Madam Speaker, if you just allow me a few minutes before I read my statement, because today, if we were supposed to have a meeting with the Committee of Health on a statement I raised in June last year, whose report had finally come. And if we had had the meeting today, then I would have had to drop this statement because the issues I raise here are similar to what I had raised in last year. But the statement had gone unanswered for so long, and today, whereas we were supposed to have a meeting with the CS, he didn't show up without an excuse. And I just want to register my frustration, Madam Speaker, because the things that we are dealing with here, mental health issues in the country, are things that are supposed to be taken very seriously, considering we've been having this conversation in this House to begin with from 2018. The government is fully seized of the situation in the country. Kenyans right now are suffering mentally. The suicide cases have increased exponentially, and yet we are still having boardroom conversations. The minister is not even appearing at committee to answer and give progress on mental health interventions to our people, to the counties, and at national level. So it's very frustrating, Madam Speaker, but I'll go ahead and read this statement in the hope that we can get some faster answers and Kenyans can get faster relief when it comes to matters mental health. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the provision of mental health and psychosocial services in the counties. In the statement, the committee should address the following: explain the status of provision of mental health and psychosocial services to Kenyans across the country, given the allegations that those seeking healthcare across the country are staggering 1/4.
Honorable members, Madam Speaker.
This day was in a rush, Madam Speaker, and you were not there for your question, it was closed.
Order, you can resume your seat. Order, members, can I have the chairperson to report to the House?
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 32 of 2021, and approved the same with amendments.
Very well, thank you. Let me have the mover of the bill to move agreement with the report.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I also request the Honorable Engineer Duarte to second the motion for agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
The Honorable Engineer Duarte for seconding.
Honorable Speaker, I second.
Very well.
Seconded to say we had a chair was a dictator.
Members, I propose a question for adoption, which is that this House do agree with the committee in the said reports. Cognizant of our own standing orders, and members, we are not in a position to put the question, and I do order that the question on the same be put in the next sitting. Next order.
Order number 11, the Universities Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2021. Second reading, resumption of debate.
Very well. On order number 11, the Universities Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2021. This is a resumption of debate, which was interrupted on the Wednesday, February 16, 2022, in the afternoon sitting. Our members, on the same we had the Honorable Hamos Kimunya, the mover, and Honorable Mutua Florence Mwikali, seconding. The question was proposed, and so we have a number of requests from members who are wishing to debate on this. May I have the Honorable Member for Sirisia? Member for Sirisia is consulting. The Honorable Member for Ruaraka Constituency, Honorable TJ Kajwang. Honorable TJ Kajwang.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to make 4 quick points on this bill. You know, Madam Speaker, if today you want to make money, you should just start a private university and get all the faculties and the units that are taught in the public universities. You will be a rich lady within 1 year. And you know how you'll be rich? You will be using public funds to enrich yourself. Because what has happened is that the government has become the biggest market for people who are doing business in the name of private universities. Madam Speaker, this began sometime in 2021 when we passed the KBC amendment. And the KBC amendment is one of those that is under review in this amendment. And I call your attention to clause 21, which is discussing the management of Kenyan universities and colleges, central services, otherwise called KBC. It is a shame, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there is a gentleman from a constituency I have a lot of respect for, but they are in the business of selling oranges. Who is taking away your attention, Madam Speaker?
Honorable Kajwang, you have been heard and you'll be heard in silence.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
I saw order.
Madam Speaker, when we passed KBC, it was not a norm. It was an exception. At that time, it was said that we have students, and every student have a right to education, and because the public universities do not have enough bed space for the students, let us have the private students, and we will roll in some money for capitation for the tuition to be able to learn, to get them to school. Now, that did not become the norm. It was an exception. It was, if you wish, an affirmative action, which should have ended at some point. But it is today prestigious to go to a private university. Today, private universities are the most prestigious places to go. When Amos Kimunya and I went to school, of course he went to school much earlier than I, but it was prestigious to go to public schools because public universities benefited from the best lecturers, from the best facilities. Today, nobody wants to go to University of Nairobi. If you went to the law faculty in University of Nairobi in Parklands, you will find they don't even have seats for students to sit down. Why? Because attention has turned from public universities to private universities. If you went to Strasbourg today, it is very easy. It is very cozy. The most, you will have a wonderful time being in that university because they have used public funds to develop that university. In fact, today, in the supplementary estimates that we are considering, 300 million is going to be is going to go to the private universities for the purposes of that capitation. Now, that is not a problem, but the problem is, if every year we had set out, and I think the leader of majority should, follow if he wishes, if every year we were to use the kind of money we are pushing through the exchequer to build a university, how many universities would we have built from the year 2012 right up to now? There would be enough universities for our children to go. So then the last thing around this thing is that children are taken to private universities against their choices. You just find that you have been taken to Baraton or to Daystar or to one of those. And it was not your father and your mother worked hard so that you can join University of Nairobi or you should go to Lower Kabete and do accounts there. Against your wishes. And that they say that the funds then will follow you. So there are three clauses I have a problem with, although I support the entire bill, but there are three clauses that I have a problem with. Clause 21 talks about management of the coups. You can see that in that clause, they are attempting to put people they are calling representatives from private universities to sit together with people who are controlling the public universities. That is a misnomer. It can't happen. It is only in Kenya that this kind of thing is proposed. Now, the second thing is clause 18, discussing section 54, I think, of the Act. And it has something to do with the funding. There is a fund, universities fund, that has been created. And you see the composition of the fund. You find a representative of private university sitting to discuss and to decide matters on how that money is going to go to him. If this is not conflict of interest, what is conflict of interest? How can this person sit down and discuss how the public money will be issued out to himself? And him is a declared private person who is in business to make profits. So what we are doing, we are just allowing people to go to the exchequer and sit down on a table and discuss how much of that cake will go to them, and they are private people. This cannot happen. The last thing I want to say about this is that if you want a vice chancellor, and if you want a professional vice chancellor, you must divorce politics from this thing. Why would you on earth put a CS in the process of selecting a vice chancellor? That is what used to happen during Moi's time. Because Moi was the professor excellent, and Moi was everything. So Moi would decide who becomes the vice chancellor or not. So why would you have Magoha? What value would Magoha had in appointing a vice chancellor? If you want a professional vice chancellor, remove CS from this and let it be professional. Let it be an academic, the academia deciding who the vice chancellor is. Now, Madam Speaker, you know that as we sit down and as we sit now, and Honorable Kimunya will tell you that there is an active audit going on right now in Public Accounts Committee about ghost students. You know, these people, those private universities, they have ghost students. No law stops them from saying how many students do you have, because after all, they are expecting money to come to them. Right now, there is an active audit, special audit, on this on these capitation funds. Now, this is what we want to encourage. I say that the mover of the bill, if you want us to accept the bill as it were, then you must make an amendment to bring in the Auditor General. Auditor General must audit these funds. How else are we going to place this money without any audit at all? So there must be a composite amendment to the Public Audit Act to be able to get the Auditor General to know how much of this money which is going to the so-called private students or public students in private universities. Madam Speaker, I have looked at the report, and I have the report here. These are the issues that this committee was given, and I have it on record here on page, for example, page 31. UASU came before them, University Academic Staff and Union. They came before them and said these issues, that you cannot have a mismatch of a CS trying to select a vice chancellor. And then they said that in order to allow private universities the autonomy to determine their methodology for representation to the board. These are things which were taken up. But in the end, in the recommendation and in the text that the committee has brought before us, they are not seeking to amend those provisions. The committee is not doing that. When all the stakeholders told them to do that, I leave it for your own to guess what may have happened, that when they were told clearly what should have been put in the recommendations, they came with different things. So, Madam Speaker, in as much as I will support the bill, because it is an improvement to the universities bill, I will bring amendments. I will bring amendments on these issues, and we will discuss them to be able to change. Let public universities be public, and let it still be prestigious to go to public universities, not the private universities. If those people want to go to private university, it should be by choice. If a child has a rich father, let them go there. I thank you.
Very well, very well. I've been citing that we have a matter appearing in the Public Accounts Committee, which I'm a member. Indeed, I'm actually the vice chairperson. Let me have the member for Kadui. Member for Kadui.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on this important motion.
Please, members, please, can you...
Honorable Speaker.
Can you put on your mask? Sometimes we may not even want to...
Honorable Speaker, they should not be raising up their hands.
Yeah,
this is not a classroom.
Yeah, just
this is not kindergarten. This is Parliament. And the Parliament has got cards and, gadgets where you can press to be detected by the Speaker.
Correct. Please carry on.
Honorable Speaker, this is an important bill because it touches actually on institutions of higher learning in our country and provides the framework for both regulation and institutionalization of programs to help to run the education sector. Madam Speaker, I have looked at the bill briefly, and I notice it carries quite a number of amendments which are very, very substantial. And I want to state that it is important, and going by what the Honorable T.J. Kajwang has just been pointing out, the bill is generally good, Honorable Speaker, but it requires to be relooked at. There are certain sections that will need to be relooked at in order to harmonize and avoid ambiguity and ensure that it supports the education sector. If you look, Madam Speaker, at what has happened in the recent past, many campuses of public universities were closed. Many satellite campuses, and constituent colleges were closed, even for the University of Nairobi, Moi University, Masinde Muliro University, even Kibabi University of my own in Bungoma had, campuses and satellite campuses, closed. Honorable Speaker, this has happened and cost many students who would otherwise have been at these public universities to be placed under private universities. As Honorable Kajwang did point out, it is something which has been of prestige for admissions to public universities, like the University of Nairobi. I have some students admitted to some private university in Thika called Creste. I'd never heard of it. I saw this year there's a Creste University in Thika with students qualified to join
University of Nairobi and many other public universities going to that private university. While it's an institution of higher learning, Madam Speaker, but students have been placed in these private universities against their will by the placement institution, the institution responsible for placement of students. This needs to be relooked at because you've closed campuses at public universities. You closed campuses for the University of Nairobi. I am sure this could have been one of the reasons why some universities are going down, they're getting bankrupt, like Moi University. I think they relied on the number of students because the monies going into these universities is public money. Why should you close a campus of a public university with students? Then you take students to a private university and you pay all the money to a private university. You are empowering a private university against public university. This is something which need to be looked at, Madam Speaker. I am sure this must be one of the reasons why Moi University went under. Because all the campuses that had students were closed. It's a Moi University. And of course this brought down the earnings of the university. It must have contributed immensely to the coming down of this university. The other, I think, important thing which the Honorable Kajwang also did point out is, which is well captured in this bill, is the question of declaration of universities. We have had colleges, even teachers' colleges. If I recall, we had a popular teachers' college, diploma college, in Kenya here called Kenya Science. Kenya Science, which was usually at Ngong Road. It trained teachers in sciences, in agriculture, in biology, and the best biology teachers, the best agriculture teachers, chemistry, they came from Kenya Science, which was declared a university. It was taken over by the University of Nairobi. You will recall the popular Kenya Polytechnic, which we had just here on Helslasia, is no longer there. We have the Kenya, Polytechnic University, something like that. Madam Speaker, this has affected the growth of that technical cadre. The growth of the people that went through. We no longer have those popular science teachers that came from Kenya Science. We no longer have the technical people at that level that were trained in Kenya Polytechnic. Once it became a university, it neutralized the courses, the junior courses that were, given at the Kenya Polytechnic, the certificate courses, diploma courses, higher diploma courses, which used to be given at the Kenya Polytechnic. They are no longer there, Madam Speaker. If they are at a very moderated level to allow the university over degrees. Madam Speaker, this bill also on a good note also provides clarity, removes ambiguity in the management of the affairs of universities, particularly when it comes to the commission. And therefore, we need to have this done because it generally would ensure that our institutions of higher learning are well run and universities are offering courses which would ensure that they are absorbed in the market for the better of society and ensure that that the courses which are being offered in our universities are relevant to the requirements. Madam Speaker, I wish to state that, like I said at the outset, I support this bill and I join my colleague in saying that we would bring some amendments to areas that will need to be relooked at the committee stage. And I want, therefore, to thank you for the opportunity and to say I support the bill. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well. You support the bill. Thank you, the member for Kidui. The member for Suba North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Madam Speaker, at the very onset, I just want to say that I do support this bill with amendments. Madam Speaker, I know that there are people who do not want to continue working, and the only thing they want to do is to disrupt. And then, Madam Speaker, perhaps if I can say, because my issues also quantify to almost a point of order. Madam Speaker, there are people who at this point don't want to work, they just want to be politicking, and they don't want those of us who want to work to be in the house.
Please, can you put your card on intervention, find out if you... Yes. Very well. Yes, Honorable. Let Honorable Emilio Odhiambo finish our debate. Honorable Emilio Odhiambo. There's a member here, I don't want to state your name. Oh, he's not even on an intervention, and he's shouting.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Carry on.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for protecting me against persons who are hell-bent on disrupting the House for no reason. Madam Speaker, the place where people exercise work and business in the House is on the floor, or business or parliament is on the floor of the House. It's not at political rallies. So, Madam Speaker, those who think it is ripe, the time is right for them to politic, please go and politic and let those of us who want to work to work. Having said that, Madam Speaker, I want to say that I support this bill with amendments. And having said that, I support this bill with amendments, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just want to indicate, Madam Speaker, I want to indicate that the reason why I support this bill...
Out of order. You are out of order. You cannot be upstanding. Just do the right way and you'll get your...
But Madam Speaker, it is you who can catch the eyes. They cannot force you to give them the mic.
Honorable Emilio Odhiambo, please carry on.
Yes, I'm continuing, yes, Madam Speaker. Thank you. Madam Speaker, the reason why I want to support this bill with amendments is, Madam Speaker, our universities have been facing a lot of governance challenges of late. And Madam Speaker, the amendment in some part is seeking to address those issues, yet it is actually not touching the core of the issues, Madam Speaker, in the way the amendments are crafted. So I want to agree with Honorable TJ Kajwang, and I want to encourage him that he can actually bring the amendments that the committee has not brought. Because when I listened to the chair of the Committee of Education raising the issues that had been brought by the the things that had been brought to them when they went for public participation, she raised some significant issues which, however, are not covered in the committee report. Madam Speaker, because of time, I just want to indicate that some of the issues that are of concern to me, Madam Speaker, is that we are a very unique country that seems to want to kill its public universities, that are the universities that are accessible to poor and struggling children, and yet we want to strengthen our private universities, many of which do not even have the capacities to manage, Madam Speaker. As much as we want to encourage and support private entities, it cannot be at the expense of our public universities. Madam Speaker, I've been one of the proponents of a public university per county, and if we are able to do that and give resources per county, then we can go very far in terms of making education accessible at a higher level. I am very pleased to see Tom Mboya University College, which is a constituent college of Maseno University, has grown exponentially, and it was an idea we started here with the late Honorable Tieno Kajwang, just when devolution was coming in, and we said that we needed a constituent college first that should then move to a university, and we are waiting. The president has actually promised that we will get a charter. Recently I passed there, I didn't get into the university, but seeing what it has become from one small building at Farmers Training College, Madam Speaker, it was a Farmers Training College that had the only television in public television when I was growing up in that town, and that's where we all watch television with one TV and Homa Bay FTC. And Madam Speaker, it has grown to a very, very big college that is now good enough to be a university. Madam Speaker, that would not be possible if we don't put in sufficient funds for that as a public university. So instead of putting in too much energy on private universities, which I don't have a problem with, but let us give attention and focus first to our public universities before then we move to our private universities. Madam Speaker, the other issue that I'd want to say, which Honorable TJ Kajwang has said, is that even where we want to support the private universities, we should not violate people's rights to choices. I have in my own house 2 of my grandchildren who have been taken to private universities. I didn't want them to go to private universities. I prefer that they go to public universities so that they get all-rounded education in public universities, where some of us went. But instead they were taken to private universities under the pretext that they will be supported by the government because they passed. Instead, we are being forced to pay even higher money for our children to go to those private universities. I have no quarrel with private universities, but where as a parent you choose for your child to go to a public university, that should be actually your first preference or choice. I would have preferred for them to go to my university, Nairobi University. And so, Madam Speaker, I think the issue, the freedom of choice should be there. And then finally, Madam Speaker, one of the issues that is of serious concern to me, Madam Speaker, this affects both public and private universities. And I don't know how we can address it in this bill. The issue of missing marks, Madam Speaker. I don't think we have what is called universities any longer. I have nephews and nieces who are in public universities as well. And one of them finished his degree and could not graduate because they missed his mark. So he has to waste 1 whole year because of missing marks. And not because he didn't do. He did the exams, they were missing. He went back again and did the exams, they were still missing. And then when he went to the university, one of the officers there gave him a very ethnic-laden remark at around this time of politics. Of course, he didn't know that that was my nephew, and I just decided to be magnanimous because then that such a person should be fired if I actually pick that issue very seriously. You cannot tell somebody because you are related, you are a Luo and you look like you support Azimio, so we cannot help you follow up, get your marks. So, Mr. Speaker, our universities must also be de-ethnicized. And it's very, you know, it's not, I don't even know the words, let me not use bad words. But my nephew has to spend actually a whole year out of the university because of a missing mark, which has been missed, he has missed twice. That was unheard of in our time. You did your results and they were out. So part of the issues that should be addressed is beefing up our universities so that they are able to function effectively. But I thought it was actually a problem with the public universities. I have another niece who was also taken out of no choice of hers to a private university. Again, she's also has delayed graduation because of a missing marks in a private university. So I don't know what's going on with the universities, and we are hearing stories that for you to get your marks you have to bribe. What nonsense is that? Because what are we then, what then are we producing? Graduates or graduates in corruption. So, Madam Speaker, there are very, very serious governance issues that are affecting our universities, but we cannot address them by trying to kill public universities, but by strengthening public universities. So what I would want to encourage is Honorable TJ to bring those amendments that are indicated, and if he doesn't, I will also bring them, Madam Speaker, so that we can make our public universities the first places of choice. My university, the University of Nairobi, when I went there, was one of the best universities in the world. It is now struggling. And if you look at they are bedeviled with issues of ethnicity, issues of governance, issues of corruption. I'm not saying about Nairobi University specifically, but those are issues that are now bedeviling our universities. And I think there was a report that was done by the the National Cohesion Commission, and showed that almost all universities are guilty Madam Speaker, that you find whether it was Maseno, whether it's Moi was employing majority Kalenjins. Maseno was employing majority Luos and Luyas. And, vice versa, and even in other parts, Karatina and the rest. Madam Speaker, we cannot run a country with that kind of madness. Let our universities, even in employment, show the face of Kenya, because we're actually breeding a terrible nation by putting ethnicity and such considerations ahead. I support with amendments. Thank you.
You support with amendments. Honorable Member for Seme. And members, maybe for your guidance, you must get a way of catching the speaker's eye. If you don't catch my eye, you'll be absent. There's a way of doing it. If you're on intervention, make sure you do it the right way. Yes, Honorable Member for Seme.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise and to support this.
Like I have a member for Nafakolo. What is your on intervention? Your card is be captured.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you just did mention that we need to know how to catch your eye.
Yes.
And I was hoping that after the good professor,
yes,
I can support the bill.
No, that's you are on intervention. Very well, Honorable Member for Seme, carry on.
I said, thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this bill, but with a lot of reservations. Madam Speaker, the first issue I have with this bill, as though I'm supporting it, is the timing. We have such important bills like this, which is touching on national institutions, making very major changes, and they come at a time when obviously, and for reasons we all know, most of the members are not able to contribute, because we all know what time it is, and we are concerned with the situations in our constituencies. I do not know whether this is intended, because if it is, then it is definitely in bad faith, because there are issues that should be discussed very seriously. Number two, the Universities Act seems to be having amendments, plethora of amendments on and off. It means that we haven't looked at it seriously, or we didn't look at it seriously at the time we're putting it in place. If you look at it, it was enacted in 2012. The same year there was a legal notice based on it. Then in 2014 it was amended. 2016 it was amended twice. 2018 there was an amendment. 2024 there's an amendment, and now 2019 there was an amendment, 2018 an amendment, and now 2020 amendment, and now. Is it probably not time to look at this act very seriously and see why we are making so amendments? And if you look at these amendments, they all seem to related to how the public universities relate with private universities. And Madam Speaker, what you find, even the amendments that we have now, it is actually bringing a lot of involvement of the private sector into public universities. As much as that is good, Madam Speaker, what you find is that it is happening in such a way that it is actually disadvantaging children who would have otherwise benefited from support from public universities. For example, when you talk of COOPs, now it is admitting kids across the board from public universities to children to public universities to private universities, quite regardless of what the child's choice was. So if children find themselves in private universities while they actually intended and would have wished to be in public universities. Not only that, Madam Speaker, when you look at the fund that is proposed here, there's an amendment to create a fund and a board instead of a trustee that was there. Again, if you look at this, you look at the membership, what you are seeing is a lot of people from the private sector coming in. And if you look at now how the funds are going to be distributed, before, this fund was meant for public universities. Now it is now being opened by using the word participating university. And participating university may also mean private universities. So to a large extent, I'm seeing invasion of public university by the private sector, not really to improve them, but actually to get funds, the taxpayers' funds, into private universities. I think this is not fair. This country, you see this even in the health sector. There's a lot of, when we're dealing with NHF, you see a lot of scrambling that public funds should support the private sector. Obviously, that's okay, but not at the expense of public institutions that most of our poor people can get to. You want to go to a public university, you find yourself in a private university, then of course you get some help. But now the fee there is much larger than you would have liked. So, Madam Speaker, I think as a country we must look at ways of actually redistributing resources, not in such a way that actually the poor are actually supporting the rich. So that you have actually moving money, the poor are now subsidizing the rich. So I think to that extent we'll have to look at very serious amendments to this, and probably the university as a whole, the Universities Act as a whole, and actually look at public universities to a large extent should remain public universities, particularly in terms of funding. When people choose to actually go to private universities, many times there are people who can afford it. And that what we should do is spend more money to open more spaces in public universities and support those who can't. But to get public funds to support private universities that sometimes are motivated by profit, must be motivated by profit. I think that's not right. Madam Speaker, I also see there's a proposal to actually get the minister to vary or to vary the decisions of the council. Whereas it is important that there should be a level at which a minister can actually intervene when there are issues in the council. But we must be very careful, Madam Speaker, that when we start to do that, the independence of universities and the independence of our councils will be so severely eroded that actually they'll not become very useful. They may become puppets. So, Madam Speaker, for those points I've raised, I have great reservations on this. I support it, but I think we'll need to look at it look at the amendments thoroughly to see that we actually support public universities and actually prevent this invasion of public universities by private universities. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well. The next on my request to make contribution on this is the member for Kiambaa, the Honorable Juguna, for contribution. Is present. Is present.
Yes, I'm present, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute on this great important funding of the public university bill. Madam Speaker, I rise to contribute to the debate on the second reading of the university amendment bill. I have had a chance to read through this bill, and I must say that the best title to give this bill is a bill for private university and has nothing to do with public university yet. Our public universities are on the knees, not only because of finance and the management. Madam Speaker, every clause in this bill, in my view, is geared towards fostering the interest of private universities and completely kills the public university, which is quite unfortunate. Madam Speaker, why do I say so? This is because I see an attempt to micromanage public universities. Case in point is a clause 14 of the bill, which provides for the procedure for appointment of a vice chancellor. As you are aware, public universities are body corporate and should not be run like a personal entities. This bill proposes that the vice chancellor of a public university shall be appointee of the cabinet secretary. If this is not micromanagement, I do not know of a better word. Meanwhile, for private universities, vice chancellors shall be appointed by the university council. We all recall what transpired during the appointment of the current VC of the University of Nairobi, where a cabinet secretary had a preferred candidate and kept rejecting certain successful nominee until the issue went to court. In this, what we still want, why can't a Vice Chancellor be competitively recruited by the Public Service Commission without its current diminished role, where the Cabinet Secretaries appear to be the one to determine who is appointed as a Vice Chancellor of a public university? It is my submission that the VC or the Vice Chancellor should be competitively recruited exclusively by the Public Service Commission. An honorary principal to college should be recruited by the council. Without this, without continued micromanagement of public university, are bound to all to fail. Management of any institution is everything, and if you do not get it right, you got everything else wrong. For this reason, Madam Speaker, I oppose.
You oppose?
Yes.
Very well. You're on record opposing. It's a House of Beat. Very welcome. The member for Daragwa, the Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for that opportunity to contribute to this bill. And I want to say that we always have issues with the universities, the public universities. It is useful to have an opportunity to address the university issues on the floor of this House. I have gone through this bill not in any manner of detail, but the real I've seen is that it's a little worrying, because instead of us trying to look for solutions for the public universities, it's like we are looking for solutions for the private universities, and we are creating an opportunity for them to access the public coffers. So I think it is important to say the following. One, that across this country, I have seen it in my constituency, Daragwa, we now have kids or young people at the university being admitted at the university from very poor families that perhaps there before never thought that they would ever have their children at the university level. But what is worrying is that when they come to you, they have admissions to the private universities, and the amount of money that they are expected to pay is much higher than that that is being paid in the public universities. And then the foreign question is, how did you get yourself admitted to the private university? And they have no idea. Somebody just sits somewhere and decides that this one goes to a private university, this one goes to a public university, this one will pay more, this one will pay less. This is theft. This is actually fraud on our education system. We've done so well in this country by having free primary education, free secondary education. We seem to be messing it up at the university level. And I don't understand how this bill would be a government bill. I actually was struggling to find whose name is on it, and I see Kimunya's name, and I wonder how on earth would the government be having this kind of a bill on the floor, which is actually taking away the right of education from our young people, and especially from families, not even poor families. Every other child needs to have the right to decide where to go. And I think, Madam Speaker, one of the amendments that we should have is a sunset clause. We should introduce a sunset clause so that private universities that have been enjoying money from public coffers, we know by what time that will come to an end. Because if we are choosing to give these private investors money, why are we not giving those ones in the motor industry? Why are we not allowing other sectors to access public coffers, to access money that we have paid? I wonder how we got here in the first place. Madam Speaker, again, we don't even audit. We have these young kids that drop out because they cannot afford money in the public sector and the private sector, but I am certain that the government continues pumping money until the fourth year. But some of the kids will have dropped in second year, first year, so it's really a conduit, and I again don't understand how this document will be coming from anywhere in the government places. Look at these lecturers who are marking these results. You have a lecturer who is marking 500, 600 exam sheets. How on earth? I have tried it. I was struggling with 50. And somebody would want to write to me that you can mark 600 answer sheets. You cannot. It's crazy. That's why marks are lost. That's why we have commercialized this aspect so badly that we have really, Makoha must, before the end of his tenure, he must really come up with a better thing. We associate him with better things, and I hope he has not looked at this, because if he has, and he give it an okay, then there's something that we are not seeing that he should come and explain to us. Madam Speaker, I don't want to say anything more. I oppose. This is not a good bill if for purposes of helping at the university level.
You oppose. Let me have the member for Navajo, Honorable Wangwe Emmanuel, for contribution now.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to say I reluctantly support this bill. And for that matter, in proper English, I would want to say I will support it with amendments. I'll also be proposing some amendments on my own, together with those which have been cited by the good professor of medicine, Professor Nikal, and others. That once the bill is before this House, it's now our property. We will have a right to access the various sections of the bill and propose the various amendments to it. Madam Speaker, education is the only gift you can give to a society, especially the youth. And failure to give the youth the right education, it means you are building a population which is going to be full of anarchy. And if you educate children to a free basic education as enshrined in Article 43, and you deny them the higher education, properly nurtured to their needs, then, Madam Speaker, all you are doing is building anarchy. You've enlightened the boys and girls, but you are not able to conclude and give them the right education. Madam Speaker, this bill, even the committee observation on its own, is really giving direction on where we headed to. The committee, Madam Speaker, has observed that it in its own wisdom intends to ensure that the governance of specialized degree awarding institutions is within the framework of the Universities Act, which has already been effected through the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill number 20 of 2020. Madam Speaker, this bill is just overriding what is already existing. It is making the aim of the bill is actually not driving to give anything new, but instead it is going round in circles so that it hits on the private and private institutions, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to speak as a member coming from the Western region, where at the moment we do not have a private university. Madam Speaker, since the last 5 years, the only university that has received the last funding is Masinda Muro University, which got the funding last year in the budget. Kibabi University has been struggling. Kaimosi University is yet to get a charter. Alupe University is yet to get a charter. And Madam Speaker, the per capita of the people of Western cannot be sustained in any near to anybody who is coming up with a private university to support higher education. Therefore, Madam Speaker, if we do not bankroll and invest in public universities, it means some regions in this country will continue undoing in terms of economy at the expense of those which are now doing very well. I wish to say that this issue of this amendment bill should be really looked into thoroughly, so that any direction to enhance, improve, and advance issues of private universities vis-a-vis the public universities should be downplayed. Madam Speaker, any investor who wants to invest should be ready to make the feedstock, make a feedstock available, and also put in capital to drive his business. Madam Speaker, the issue of relying on the population that they will now be supplied by students, by cooks, should really end. Instead, let us support public universities so that research is across the world. It is not just Kenyan based. Madam Speaker, our sons and boys are all over the world. When you go to various universities in the US, in the UK, in Canada, in India, there are our professors working there, because the universities in the West has been made open to academic challenge. Madam Speaker, if we advise that we enhance the issue of private universities, what we are trying to do is to kill research and instead promote search for resources in terms of money rather than in terms of knowledge. Therefore, I would wish to look at it from that angle. I will be proposing the relevant, I have about 3-4 amendments with me, which I'll be putting across when it comes to the committee of the whole House. Madam Speaker, Section 23 of the Act should be amended to ensure that the Cabinet Secretary publishes the Gazette which is within 90 days from the date of submission, failure to which the statutes become effective, to avoid inordinate delay of gazettement of statutes. Madam Speaker, that citation in the Act as it is now, as it's observed in the Act now,
is something which we need to look at so that we align with the Universities Act as it is. The focus on management of universities only for appointment of commission secretary is limiting, as it excludes, Madam Speaker, other would-be qualified persons working outside university environment, but with the similar experience and management competencies like officers working in institutions such as the Commission for University Education. Madam Speaker, look at that. You've been adorned yourself. If it is curtailing, usually an institution of knowledge, you allow competition to come from outside, not just do inbreeding and you want to contain and say you want to allow competition just from within. This is inbreeding, Madam Speaker, and I feel we should be looking at it at the Committee of the Whole House. Madam Speaker, it is proposed that the Chair of the Council should be a PhD degree holder who has vast experience in research, which is one of the key functions of the university. It's also important to ensure that the qualifications of Council Chair match that of the senior management. That is okay that we look at the Chair to have that kind of elevated level of academics. We accept that. But this is just one small observation which is hiding to drive the entire bigger majority. You only have one gift at the convenience of very many ills, Madam Speaker. We will not be looking at it from that angle. Instead, we have to really focus. And finally, Madam Speaker, we should not look at it like the way they are putting. Councils, like any other public board, operate on delegated authority. However, it is unnecessary for the CS to review council decisions, recognizing that CS is ably represented in the council. Madam Speaker, this bill is giving powers to the CS to review council decisions and on delegated positions. Madam Speaker, supposing the CS does not want to align himself with the decision of the council, he'll be simply remote controlling the council wherever he's seated. It's a challenge which you need to look at, and Madam Speaker will make the various positions clear during the Committee of the Whole House. Finally, Madam Speaker, we look at the issues of appointments. We look at the issues of the appointments. For example, the Vice Chancellors are the accounting officers of the university, and having them sit in the university's fund board will resonate with their role as the chief executive officers of the respective universities. That is okay, Madam Speaker, as accounting officers. However, Madam Speaker, this bill, if it's allowed in the openness the way it has come, without necessarily, Madam Speaker, giving the sunset clause of when they are seated in that university fund board, what happens? You must give it a sunset clause, the limitation of the Vice Chancellors when they sit in this university's fund board. Madam Speaker, when you look at what is happening in most universities, most of them are now declared, they are almost on the verge of collapse just because of the accountancy part of it. Accountability is a challenge. They collect fees, but some of them we saw about 3-4 years ago, there was the issue in one of the universities, Madam Speaker, where school fees was not reflecting in the printout sheets. It was discussed on this floor. And at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, today, the university is down in limbos. We need to really enhance the accounting structures of the separation of, if the Vice Chancellor is really administering, let him be a professional officer in the office of the Vice Chancellor, seated as the administrator of the university. Not, Madam Speaker, to be given on the basis he is a lawyer, and therefore Masinda Muliro should have a lawyer. The answer is no. He is a Luo, therefore Maseno should have a Luo. The answer is no. We want to have a transparent administrative unit such that, Madam Speaker, a Vice Chancellor is a full professor in charge of the institution. He should not pay homage to any other person, rather than lay loyalty, Madam Speaker, to the instruments that a Vice Chancellor is given when he becomes a Vice Chancellor of the institution. Madam Speaker, I end there with my very many amendments that I'll be proposing in the Committee of the Whole House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well. Your amendments, proposed amendments at the right time, will be prosecuted. The member for Mwingi West, is he in the house? He's consulting. Yeah, I've just seen him walk out to consult. That is honorable. The member for Kandui has spoken to this. Let me have the member for Kikuyu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I want to join many of my colleagues who have contributed to this debate. Honorable Speaker, this may seem like a good bill, but I think it is indeed a very bad bill, especially for our public institutions. Honorable Speaker, you remember during the reign of Mishuki as the Minister for Transport, all matatus were to be painted yellow, and we assumed that they would all now behave properly. But I think history has shown us that a matatu is a matatu whether painted with a yellow strip or painted in blue or green or yellow like they were supposed to be painted. Honorable Speaker, if you want to deal with the problem of our universities, we must deal with what we call CUPS, the Kenya Universities Central Placement Services, Honorable Speaker. This is a predecessor of what was the Joint Admissions Board that was said to be riddled with corruption, Honorable Speaker. But even after changing Joint Admissions Board to CUPS, the same corruption that existed in the Joint Admissions Board, Honorable Speaker, persists today in the Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Services, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you have seen, I think it's only this week that the member for Njoro requested a statement or a question on the financial woes that are bedeviling Egerton University. And it's not just Egerton University, Madam Speaker. Kenyatta University, the University of Nairobi, the premier university of this country, Masinda Muliro, where the chief whip comes from, Murang'a University, Honorable Speaker, you remember in the Public Accounts Committee, the PS, I think the Vice Chair of Murang'a University saying that they have no students. Why public universities have no students, Madam Speaker, is because CUPS is not placing students in public universities. And that is why we have so many public universities in our backyards that have no students. And without students, Honorable Speaker, then they have no capitation from the taxpayers' money that we allocate in this House. Honorable Speaker, until and unless we deal with the question of CUPS, and surprisingly, Honorable Speaker, if you look at this bill is not seeking to empower CUPS or to deal with the problems that are there in CUPS. If you look at clause 21 of the bill, it is proposing to change the membership of CUPS to have a service that will have 11 members, out of which only 4 members will represent government interests in public universities. Indeed, public universities are supposed to be represented, I think, by only one person. The bulk will be represented by other interests, Honorable Speaker. And there lies the problem, Honorable Speaker. We will find ourselves in a situation where public interest has nobody to speak for public universities within CUPS. And CUPS being the body that will be giving students to universities, then Murang'a University will continue to be on its knees, Egerton will continue to be on its knees, probably Kenyatta University will have died before Murang'a dies because of lack of students, Honorable Speaker. And we may not say, Honorable Speaker, it is the courses that are being offered, because we have very many public universities, Honorable Speaker, that are offering very good courses, but they are not getting students placed before them by CUPS. Honorable Speaker, it is my submission that indeed, if we want to deal with the problems bedeviling our public universities, we must deal with CUPS. If we don't deal with CUPS, how it is constituted, and it must be heavy with government representation and representation by public universities, Honorable Speaker, not private interests. 2, Honorable Speaker, is a question of the Cabinet Secretary. The bill proposes to have the Cabinet Secretary completely micromanage public universities. Honorable Speaker, you know I have served as the Vice Chair of the Public Investments Committee in the last Parliament. The state universities or the public universities are body corporates. They actually, they report to this House through the Public Investments Committee. And if the State Corporations Act stops ministries from micromanaging state corporations or state parastatals, then the Cabinet Secretary in charge of education cannot then be allowed by this bill to micromanage our public universities by somehow being the person appointing vice chancellors. Honorable Speaker, you remember the most recent case example is a case of C.S. Magoha and Professor Kiama at the University of Nairobi. You remember that issue had to go to the courts to be resolved, and to see Professor Kiama seat as a vice chancellor, having been recruited by the council competitively. Honorable Speaker, if we allow cabinet secretaries to pinpoint, and I want to support what Honorable Wangwa is saying, that you pinpoint a Mr. Maina to go and be the vice chair of Muranga University, of Karatina University, or Kikuyu campus when it becomes a university, hopefully one day. Then Masinde must be the vice VC of Masinde Muliro. Bondo University must be led by an Otieno. That is what we risk doing if we allow the cabinet secretary to be the one to appoint vice chancellors. Let vice chancellors of our public institutions be recruited competitively and on merit. And that way, Honorable Speaker, even members of this House, we will be able to hold those vice chancellors to account on both public money and how they educate and take care of our children that we send to the public universities. Honorable Speaker, many of us in this House attended public universities. And we must be at the forefront, Honorable Speaker, of defending our public universities from collapse. Honorable Speaker, if this bill is passed in its current form, it will spell a death knell to our public universities. And we must do all we do, and we'll bring amendments to ensure, I will have amendments to ensure that COOPS, or the University and Colleges Central Placement Services, is properly constituted with heavy representation representing government and public interest vis-a-vis the interests of private institutions, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, is a question of funding for our students, Honorable Speaker. Last week, I think, early last week or last week, but Honorable Speaker, many of you read in the Business Daily that our students in public universities are not even able to access help. Many of the members here, I'm sure, including myself, why not for help, we would never have seen the face of a university. And I'm sure even you, Madam Speaker, you probably knowing where you come from, just like me, we would never have seen the face of a university. Why not for funds coming through help? It is sad that today, Honorable Speaker, our students are not able to access help. And yet, we are not dealing with those issues even as we deal with a bill like this. Honorable Speaker, I was wishing the leader of majority was seated here, but I see his deputy is here, the Honorable Jimmy Angwenyi. Please tell Honorable Kimunya, I can see he's here. Honorable Kimunya, in the 10th Parliament, when he was leader of government business, used a time like this, and I heard the Honorable Nyikal speak about it. You must be very careful, leader of majority, not to do what you did in the 10th Parliament, to bring retrogressive bills that are unpopular with the public at a time when you know many members of parliament are out there campaigning. We must be cautious that we do not bring and pass retrogressive bills that will kill our public institutions because the leader of majority, and you know, I think he doesn't care, because in the 10th Parliament he used his time and he lost his seat. He used his time here to bring very retrogressive bills, passed them when people are out, and he ended up losing his seat. We do not want to lose our seats, Honorable Speaker, because we were not in this House when bills that are retrogressive in nature, bills that are infringing on the rights of the ordinary hustler students to access university education, Honorable Speaker, are passed in this House, Honorable Speaker. And I really want to implore on the leader of majority to either withdraw this bill or to allow enough opportunity for us to be able to engage on all the issues, especially on the issues of funding of our public universities, placement of universities students in our public universities, Honorable Speaker, and the management of public universities without undue interference by government, Honorable Speaker, through the Cabinet Secretary. With that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to vehemently oppose this very retrogressive bill.
Very well. Let me have the member for Masinga, the Honorable Mwalio Bidi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving this opportunity to speak about this University Amendment Bill 2021. I will support with amendments this bill because majority of the items in this bill are not in line with what the universities are supposed to be run. One, The universities are now on their death, death knees. They are almost going under. In fact, I know one that has already been closed because the money that they used to have through the parallel courses is no longer there. And the universities were doing very well. In fact, that is why they opened so many branches of the universities, because they had extra money from the parallel courses that they were teaching. But now, since the parallel courses were stopped by the management of the universities and also maybe by the cabinet secretary, the universities are no longer expanding at all. In fact, in my constituency, we had given Machakos University a land, 40 acres of land, to build another university there. But since the parallel universities were closed, then they stopped, and we had already given them the land. In fact, we have been asking where they went, but I found out later on that they have no money at all. So we need to find a solution for the universities before they go under, because the debts that they have not paid, the pending bill they have not paid people that have worked for them is enormous. It's a lot. The contractors who have built for them houses, them that have built for them institutions, them that built for them a lot of items that are in the universities, they have not been paid. And therefore, we need a solution to be able to come up with, to be able to save our institutions, because nowadays that is the basic education. To attain a degree is no longer the Form 4 that we used to boast about, that if you are in a Form 4, you have really gone to school. But it is now the basic education is to have the first degree. And to be learned is for you to have a master's also. So we need to save our universities. Number two, the recruitment of the vice chancellors needs to be looked into, because you will find that the Senate, having recruited them, and they give it to the cabinet secretary to appoint, they do not even insist on the management skills. And the most important thing is to have management skills, whether you have a PhD, whether you are a doctor, whether you are a professor. If you have no management of an institution and you have no skills and you have no experience, then you will not be able to take that institution very far. You'll find that there are some vice chancellors who inherited good institutions, and after a while, the institutions are dry. They have no finances, they have nothing, there is no income, and therefore you find that they are struggling even to be able to stand on their feet. So I will urge that this bill will include the recruitment of a vice chancellor to be an added advantage if you have a course or you have another advanced degree of a management course, and also a financial management, so that you may be able to know, after the income of the school has come in, how do you share, how do you divide, how do you keep a surplus and be able to save the institution from even going to bad debts. So with those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I wanted to support with amendments. Thank you.
Very well. You support with proposed amendments, which you are welcome, with the Committee of the Whole. The member for Rangwe, the Honorable Gogo Achieng, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this bill with amendments, and for the very reason that this touches on the core element of our nation, that is education. And as it were, Honorable Speaker, much has been said about this particular bill, and as far as it touches on the joint between private universities and public universities and monies that go to private universities from the public coffers, the first thing that comes to question is accountability, Honorable Speaker. But before I speak to this, Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate what our private universities are doing in this country in terms of provision of employment to the Kenyan citizenry, and also giving education and also conducting research in their level, and also the many things that they do to enhance education in this country. But this particular bill, Honorable Speaker, it has not addressed the issues of education governance in this country, especially higher education. We have seen in the recent past, our higher education institutions, especially our universities, literally go down on their knees, and my university that I did all my 3 degrees from, that is Egerton University, was literally salvaged from extended closure the other day, and somebody thought it wise to just give it another lease of life, and it was hurriedly reopened when it was actually facing extinction. And we know the capacity and the work Egerton has contributed in this country, especially in the field of high-notch agriculture. So this particular bill, Honorable Speaker, does not strictly address issues of governance that bedevil our higher learning institutions. And it is very important, Honorable Speaker, that these issues are addressed, issues financial management. Bills should come into this House that substantively address how monies should be given to our public universities. We know that as far as it were, most of our students from vulnerable backgrounds end up in our public universities. And these public universities, Honorable Speaker, should be well funded. And if there were any scarcity of funds, then priority should be given to our public universities. And if there is any sharing that should be given in such a way that funding from public coffers is directed to private universities, Honorable Speaker, from our public coffers, monies that ought to have been used to build the capacity of financial capacity of our public universities, Honorable Speaker, then I should think that these are the matters that should be addressed by such a bill. Of course, people who have spoken, colleagues who have spoken ahead of me, have touched on the matters of governance in terms of nepotism that we see in management at our universities, where preference, especially if it is brought at certain echelon of management, then you would find preference being given to certain tribes, certain people from certain localities to be at the highest level of management of our public universities. These are the things that we really honestly need to address. When we look at this bill, there is an element of it making it a bit difficult for provision of charter. And I'm looking at a university like Tom Mboya University in Homa Bay, where I come from, Homa Bay County. I mean, provision of charters should be made easy, such that we have even more and more of our public universities. Among other things that our universities do, Honorable Speaker, is to conduct research. And when it comes to rating of universities in terms of their output, internationally and nationally, you look at how much they contribute in terms of public knowledge, in terms of generation of knowledge from research that they conduct. And I get curious to find out how much money is given to our public universities for research purposes. We cannot have our universities only teach, Honorable Speaker. We need to have our universities, especially our public universities. We need our public universities to be funded so that they can conduct research, so that they can generate new knowledge. I want to specifically speak to equipment that are at Egerton University that are used for teaching. Some of them are completely old, Honorable Speaker, and we need to buy, especially in the fields of engineering. And I'm talking about the Department of Food Science and Technology. When I talk about the Department of Food Science and Technology, Honorable Speaker, this is a specific department that require a new equipment, Honorable Speaker. But we find that the little money that is there is only given, is divided among public universities, and part of it is taken to private universities, when our public universities require new equipment, especially even in the field of engineering. And I think this one resonates around all the universities, our public universities across the country, Honorable Speaker. So it is really, really serious. It is a serious matter that we looked at our public universities with an eye of mercy. What happened? That our public universities, where most of our students from poor background, and we know very well, Honorable Speaker, that education is an equalizer. Education levels all the playing fields for people. It doesn't matter their background. And when you struggle very hard, then you get to university, then you find that there are things which you cannot access, Honorable Speaker. These are matters of governance, and especially when it comes to funding, these are the things that we should come and bring to the floor of this House and substantively discuss and see how we can even add more money to our public universities. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to matters accountability, when we take monies to private institutions from public coffers, Honorable Speaker, how do they account for these monies? How would our how do public auditors go to private institutions to follow up funds from public coffers and audit and give a report, Honorable Speaker? And probably these are the places where we get our money disappear, Honorable Speaker. So I should think that we should rethink this bill. As much as I support it, when it comes to the Committee of the Whole House, we will bring amendments to it so that it is better. Our public universities, Honorable Speaker, have been suffering lots and lots of riots and lots of stay-ins by our lecturers, Honorable Speaker. Look at the qualifications that you require to be a university lecturer, Honorable Speaker. You must have a master's degree at its least, and you take forever to get a master's degree, and you put in a lot of academic effort to have a master's, Honorable Speaker, and you must do publications, Honorable Speaker. And we even have our university lecturers. They must do certain publications. They must supervise certain number of students. And what happens? It is our university lecturers in this country who are least paid, Honorable Speaker. So as much as we want to discuss matters higher education, it is important that we rethink funding of our national universities, especially public universities, as we appreciate what the private universities are doing. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support with amendments.
You support with amendments. Let me have the member for the Honorable Kiaria for Dagoretti. I'm aware you do not have a card. You can use the dispatch box, or you give. Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
Madam Speaker, I do greatly appreciate this opportunity, and it is not my habit to not have my card. As you would know, I have a good record of carrying my card with me always. Madam Speaker, when the public elects a government, when the people elect their representatives, they do so expecting that the government is going to invest in social goods. Kenyans expect for the government to offer good schools. Kenyans expect for the government to give good hospitals, to give good universities, to have good roads, and so on. Public education is one of the social goods that the Kenyan people expect from this government. That is why, Madam Speaker, I rise to vehemently oppose this bill in the format that it is in, Madam Speaker. I'm opposing, Madam Speaker, because the financing of public universities is a critical matter. Madam Speaker, with a well-trained population, two things normally do happen. Considerable human development, but more so investment in research that moves the human being even further, Madam Speaker. So much so that if we want a country to develop, we want educated people, and we want educated people to also produce research that will inform the development of a country, Madam Speaker. Now, when a bill such as this is presented to the House, where we actually are seeing ourselves taking public monies out of public investments and putting them in private people's pockets, then, Madam Speaker, some of us will definitely stand on the floor of this House and oppose such an effort, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in its current form, this bill is actually leading to the privatization of functions that should be taken up by the national government, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the easiest way for a country to hand over itself to cartels is by privatizing social goods that belong to the public. Madam Speaker, as we speak now, we know the state of our primary school education. We know the state of our secondary school education. While the government is really investing to ensure that we have 100% transition and preferably into national government funded schools, then on the other hand, we want to make a bigger investment on private universities at the expense of public universities. Then, Madam Speaker, we would be doing what would be called in maths a zero-sum game, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, the essence of this bill is that ultimately it will bankrupt our public universities. At a time when, Madam Speaker, you can hear a petition that came to this House recently, where public universities are even decrying the state of their finances as we speak, and even asking whether alumni of public universities could be joining these summits so that they can help with the ideas to take the universities ahead, Madam Speaker. It is at a time when public universities are collapsing, Madam Speaker. Universities without number, call them Kenyatta University, in dire financial straits. Nairobi University, dire financial straits. Egerton University is in abeyance. At the moment, we do not even know how it will be opened, Madam Speaker. The students are crying, wishing that they could go back to school and at least graduate. Just across the road, Madam Speaker, the Technical University of Kenya, students who should have graduated in the year 2020 can today not graduate because there are no substantive leaders. There is no substantive leadership in that school. The school is underfunded. So in essence, this is a badly timed bill coming to do bad things, Madam Speaker, to public education and especially in public universities. Madam Speaker, this House, through the Public Accounts Committee, has processed a matter where it has been proven that the public has been investing in ghost students in private universities, where, Madam Speaker, private universities over-declare students' numbers, where there are many ghost students declared by public universities so that they can benefit from public funding. This is at a time when, Madam Speaker, national and public universities are struggling to even fill up their classes, rendering our public universities to become kiosks Today, Nairobi University is trying to do anything they can to raise money. Kenyatta University is no longer concentrating on academia or teaching their students or even doing research. They are more concentrating on what can bring money to the table because the university is facing collapse. Now here we are, the people who appropriate monies, public monies through the national budget, saying that we now want to take the monies from our public universities and put them in private investors. That is a big shame, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I think we should now also, as we are processing this, focus on where the problem is. Madam Speaker, there is an institution by the name of Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Services, Madam Speaker. The problem emanates from there. It is now in the public domain that these CAPs has been denying public universities students and placing them in private universities, and students are locked in private universities due to the bureaucracy and the process of getting yourself out of a placement in a private university if you wanted to go to a public universities, so that COOPs can then follow the monies to these private students that they're placing in private universities, and at the end of the day, killing our public universities, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the denying of funds, the killing and underfunding of public universities is a very elaborate and complex scheme. Right at the center of this scheme is the Kenya Universities and College Placement Services, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there is the issue in this bill about giving veto powers to the CS in the council, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, one of the biggest things that universities fought for is for them to be separated from the executive in this country. Madam Speaker, there was a time when nothing could happen in the university senate or university administration without the direct assent of the head of state, Madam Speaker. That was many decades ago. We cannot go back there, Madam Speaker. The veto power being given to the CS in this council, university council, is something that should not be tolerated by this house, Madam Speaker. It should be opposed to vehemently. Universities will need to be independent of the executive as they run their business and affairs. Madam Speaker, we are the house that appropriates monies. So if by chance any stroke of bad luck this bill should go through in the format that it is, I would love to call upon this house to reconsider the monies that will be appropriated in the supplementary budget and in the main budget to this particular sector. Because if we are going to invest monies that should have been going to our public universities and they end up in the pockets of individuals who run private institutions, then, Madam Speaker, we would be doing a very sacrilegious act as this house. In fact, a big disservice, not only to this country at this moment, but to the future generations. Madam Speaker, I did stand to oppose vehemently this bill in the format and form that it is in. And Madam Speaker, as I conclude, the issue of public university financing is a very critical matter to members of this house, Madam Speaker. And so I want to take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, as I'm sitting, to call your attention to the quorum situation in this house, Madam Speaker. I do believe that this matter should be debated at such a time as when we have good quorum, so that we can be able to bring up these matters to the attention of members of this house and to the attention of members of the public, Madam Speaker. And I do wish that we could actually even just postpone this debate, Madam Speaker, so that it can be debated at such a time as when there will be good quorum to attend to such an important matter of public interest. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Kia.
This week, the spotlight is on multi-talented artist Kagwe Mungai. He wears many hats. He is a well-established Afropop singer, a songwriter with hits such as Mbogia Madenge, Nakulaik, and his latest collaboration with Nviri, the storyteller, Safi Safi, under his belt. Catch Kagwe Mungai on Easy Friday at 9:45 p.m. with Shiksha Arora, only on KBC Channel 1.
The government of Kenya adopted universal health coverage (UHC) as one of the big four priority agenda, with an aspiration that by 2022 all citizens will have access to quality healthcare services that they need without getting into financial hardships. Don't suffer in silence. Visit the nearest healthcare facility and access affordable healthcare services that are now offered under the universal health coverage benefit package delivered through NHIF. For those who can afford, please remember to pay the monthly contribution of 500 shillings. The government has put mechanisms for assisting those who cannot afford to pay. Register biometrically at the nearest NHIF office. Your family's health matters to us. NHIF. Leave no one behind.
Besides, Pinky's not as qualified a wife as you think she is. What did you say? Pinky, you're so beautiful.
You've said that numerous times already.
I'm telling the truth, really.
Jack, Pinky bought this for you. I'm guessing you like it.
Jack, didn't you say you don't like fish?
What do you want, Jenny? You did this on purpose, right? You happy to put me in this awkward situation?
Jenny.
Hi.
Jack?
Now before I digress, my girl, you told me that I'm not your love interest. See my girl, the last time that I checked, see nothing ain't changed yet, except that I got a big bag and a big flag. Don't make nobody tell me nonsense, my nigga. Streets is so cold, my nigga. Make nobody come try cry me a river. I'ma pull through like the strings on my guitar. Nonsense, my nigga. The streets is so cold, my nigga. Make nobody come try cry me a river. I'ma pull through like the strings on my guitar. So cold outside, my brother. I don't want pull no trigger. I just want it, cause I'm going place. I don't want no wahala. It's so cold outside, my brother. Me, I know the hate on no brother. Me, I just want it, cause I'm going places. I don't want no wahala. Oh, it's so cold outside. Me, I know they let nothing to worry me. I know they let nothing to bother me. Me no owe no one apology. You know say she know they bother nobody. Me, I know they let nothing to bother me. I know they let nothing to bother me. Me no owe no one apology. You get me? Me nobody tell me nonsense, my nigga. Streets is so cold, my nigga. When nobody come try cry me a river. I'ma pull through like the strings on my guitar. Nonsense, my bitch. This shit is so cold, my link. When nobody come try cry me a river. I'ma pull through like the strings on my guitar. So cold outside, my brother. I don't want pull no trigger. I just want me, cause I'm going place. I don't want no wahala. It's so cold outside, my brother. Me, I know the hate on no brother. Me, I just want me, cause I'm going place. I don't want no wahala. It's so cold. Me, I know they let nothing to worry me. I know they let nothing to bother me. Me no owe no one apology. You know say she don't know they bother nobody. Me, I know they let nothing to bother me. I know they let nothing to bother me. Me no owe no one apology.